Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for choosing to be here. Thank you for honoring our invitation to be part of this year's National Justice Conference. Now, the last few days or weeks has not been very pleasant for many of us in Accra, especially generally for those of us in the southern part of this country. Because 1 minute it is bright, sunny, clear skies, beautiful. The next minute, the clouds are gathering. Well, they don't gather these days. We don't see it gather. Before you know, it is pouring. The streets are flooded, homes submerged, and life is just turned upside down. But as I was thinking about this phenomenon, I realized there's a lesson in there for all of us, however simplistic it may sound to you this morning. So let me ask a quick question. How many of us actively looked out for the weather this morning and decided to pick an umbrella? How many of us? Okay, just a few. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4 of us. Now that is the lesson in there. I like to think of justice like an umbrella. Not many of us wake up every morning thinking about justice or the justice system because we think that it will be there every time or whenever we need it. The last time I checked, my umbrella was deficient. It was not functioning because the last time it rained, the storm broke it. So it was not working properly. But somehow I thought that I had an umbrella I could rely on. And that is how the justice system really is. We think that we have a system that we can all rely on when we need it. But ladies and gentlemen, nothing just happens. We have to be deliberate about our actions. And the question is not whether the storm will come. The question is, do we have systems to cushion us against the storm? And so for children who are being exploited, for the vulnerable, for people living in poverty, the storm is already here. Will our justice system provide the shelter that they need? Will our justice system cover them? Will our justice system restore hope? That is the question we are all here to respond to or to answer. And so thank you for coming. Together we want to build a justice system that is strong, that is reliable, that will serve all of us, and a justice system we all can be proud of. So once again, welcome to the National Justice Conference. My name is Ernest Kojomenu. I'm the communications specialist for IJM Ghana, and I'll be your moderator for today. I want us to start by being intentional. We want to invite God into our midst this morning, and I'm excited about the man who is going to lead us in prayer. He is the moderator of the Global Evangelical Church, the Right Reverend Prosper Samuel Jomeku. Please put your hands together. Let's receive him as he leads us in the time of prayer. Can we all please rise?
Thank you. Shall we pray? Gracious Father, we thank you and honor you for giving us this day. Thank you for bringing us together. We are grateful to you for the peace of our nation, Ghana. We thank you for the various institutions that you are using. Thank you, Father, particularly for people who are taking good care of our children. We bless your name that, Lord, even in times such as this, it has pleased you to lead the International Justice Mission Ghana to bring us together to dialogue on issues that will make our children better. Father, we pray that, Lord, you continue to bless our homeland Ghana. You continue to bless all who are responsible in making life better for children. We lift our children before you, wherever they are. We pray that, Lord, your Spirit will counsel them and that they will grow up to become very responsible citizens. Lord, we pray for the spirit of counsel and understanding, bringing before you all facilitators. The Lord, you lead them to lead all participants so that by the end of our deliberations, we will be better positioned to continue giving hope to the children that you are giving us. We thank you for answer prayer, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
And while still standing, we'll take the national anthem. Thank you very much. I knew if the Black Stars were still playing, we'll be clapping by now, but it is still fine. Thank you all. Please be seated. And so now we'll have the opening remarks, and I'm excited to invite the person in typical Ghanaian setting. She'll be the landlord, and she's the only person fit to welcome all of us, to make us feel comfortable. For 11 years, she's been working with the International Justice Mission, and for the last 4 years, she's been the captain of the ship Ghana and leading our expansion works into Côte d'Ivoire. She is Director, West Africa Program, IJM Ghana. Please welcome Anita Budu to give us the welcome address. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namumulati. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Castle Atuforsen. Regional President for Africa-Europe Region, International Justice Mission, Andy Griffiths. Distinguished members of Parliament, the Director General Special Duties and Marine Affairs, DCOP, Mr. Raymond Adofem. Our very good partners in government, our colleagues in civil society, faith leaders, survivors, medias, and good friends, good morning. It is my great honor and privilege to welcome you all on behalf of International Justice Mission, IJM, to this year's National Justice Conference. We are deeply grateful that you have gathered here today. You've honored our invitation and gathered here once again today, committed not just in word, but in action to advance justice and protection for the most vulnerable amongst us. Each year, we come from different sectors with different mandates, but united with one responsibility. That is to ensure justice is not an aspiration, but a lived reality for many. And that's why this conference is not a talk shop. It's a working platform where ideas are sharpened into action, where promises are followed by implementation, and where every stakeholder gathered leaves with a renewed sense of duty to deliver measurable change. So let's take a moment and let's cast our minds back to last year. Last year, around the 20th of August, we all gathered and we committed to strengthening data systems across institutions to ensure better coordination of the same in order to strengthen service provision to vulnerable children across Ghana. Over the past year, we've seen important strides, and I'll highlight just a few of these. One notable achievement has been the continued rollout and strengthening of the Social Welfare Information Management System, known as SWIMS, and generously supported by UNICEF. This system is helping to improve data collection, case management, and decision-making within child protection services. We extend our gratitude to UNICEF, the Department of Social Welfare, and all partners whose commitment has made this possible. Your investment is already shaping a more responsive and effective protection system for Ghana's children. As part of our commitment to the one big thing last year, which was to strengthen data and drive this data that we gather into action, IJM Ghana also supported the Child Labor Unit of the Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment to engage an M&E consultant, monitoring and evaluation consultant, to go through, strengthening its capacity to collect, analyze, and report on child labor data. This was done. And through this, there was the production and publication of the annual child labor report. It has also monitored the implementation of the National Plan of Action, enhanced evidence-based decision-making, built staff capacity, and advanced the development of the Ghana Child Labor Monitoring System. We commend the Ghana Police Service for deliberate steps that have been taken over this year to strengthen its electronic data management systems. This is critical in our collective fight against exploitation and trafficking. We are encouraged by this progress, and we as IJM also reaffirm our readiness to continue supporting these efforts. To the Ghana Statistical Service, Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana, ISA, the Judicial Service, Human Trafficking Secretariat, Office of the Head of Local Government Service, Department of Social Welfare, MDF, Ghana Survivor Network, the Coalition of NGOs Against Child Trafficking, and really all of our research partners, we say thank you. Your collaboration on key research we have commissioned this year is helping all of us ground our work in evidence and science, enabling us to better understand the problems we face, refine our strategies, and influence policy in meaningful ways. And to all of you who have shown up not just at conferences, but in meetings, working sessions, and communities, sharing insights, and helping shape our collective approach, we are grateful. Again, last year at the conference, the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, and the Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, proposed partnerships and training initiatives. We took these ideas seriously and turned them into action. This year, we signed an MOU with the NCCE to strengthen public education and awareness nationwide. As a first step, IJM and NCCE successfully organized a 2-day capacity building workshop for selected district-level NCCE officers, equipping them with the knowledge and practical tools needed to better serve their communities. We have also helped develop information, communication, and education materials to support this campaign. On the media front, our partnership with GJA has also continued to grow. Between December last year and June 2026, so just last month, we're able to provide training to 87 journalists across the country. And this spanned from our various regions, so from the 5 northern regions to Volta and OT regions, and also recently to the Greater Accra region. These milestones are a great achievement, I would say, and they demonstrate something important, that when we gather here, we don't leave our commitments behind, we carry them forward. And yes, we may not have reached the full vision yet, but these are significant steps, and we will not drop the ball, we will continue. And so this year, as we gather under the theme, Sustainable Funding for Child Protection Against Labor Exploitation, we gather with a clear intent. to deepen national dialogue on sustainable and reliable funding approaches for child protection interventions, to foster collaboration across sectors in designing innovative and locally driven financing strategies, and finally, to influence policy and budgetary commitments that would strengthen Ghana's child protection systems. We are in crucial times, and we must speak candidly and with urgency about the need for increased investment in child protection. The reality before us is stark. Child labor or labor and exploitation and trafficking continue to evolve at scale, complexity, and placing greater demands on all of us gathered here. Sustainable funding is no longer an aspiration. It's no longer something that is nice to have. It is an immediate necessity. Without adequate and predictable financial commitments, even the best designed interventions cannot be sustained, it cannot be institutionalized, and it cannot be scaled. Now more than ever, investment in child protection is not just a social obligation. It's a national imperative tied to our development, security, and all of our moral responsibilities. Strengthening these systems today ensures that we are not simply reacting to harm, but actively preventing it and safeguarding the next generation. While we continue to urge government to expand its leadership and financial commitment to this space, we also recognize that sustainable funding is a collective responsibility. Partnership is not optional, it is essential. And at this point, I would like to sincerely thank our friends in the NGO and civil society space, who have for many years donated resources, helped build technical expertise, and have been reliable partners to the government. We say, Aiko. I was hoping to get a round of applause for all of our partners that have seen us through the work over the years and through last year to this moment here today. And even as we call for more, it is imperative that we also drive the message of stewardship of the resources that we already have currently. Accountability in the use of resources that we have is critical in child protection and in our fight against human trafficking. One of the most effective ways to achieve this is through strong coordination across our institutions. When agencies work together with clarity of role and shared purpose, we reduce duplication, maximize every CD invested, and ensure that interventions deliver real outcomes for our children. And this principle comes to life very powerfully in the story of a young 16-year-old boy that I would share with us this morning. And I'll use Philip as a pseudonym to protect his identity. And so in August 2024, a young, courageous 16-year-old boy named Philip defied the odds and escaped the grasp of a cruel boatmaster on the Volta Lake. Like many children in such situations, Philip endured brutal conditions, long hours of fishing from sunrise to nighttime, physical abuse, hunger, and exhaustion. After discovering that his younger brother, who had left home 2 years earlier for a better life, was also in the same situation with the same man, he made a bold decision. He decided that things have to change. He escaped under the cover of darkness, navigating dangerous waters for hours. And in a dramatic turn of events, after he had escaped, he met the man who held him, the trafficker, at the local Trotro station. This man then took him to the police station, accusing him of theft. But there, something remarkable happened. A police officer who had been trained weeks earlier as part of IJM's multidisciplinary approaches to tackling trafficking, recognized that there was something more. and immediately he activated a coordinated response. He called out to the Department of Social Welfare to take custody of Philip and reach out for further support. Through this collaboration, Philip's voice was heard. Vital intelligence was gathered, leading to the rescue of 6 other young boys, including Philip's younger brother. This is coordination in action. Coordination with the resources that were available at the time. This is accountability at work. And today, we proudly recognize the officers who made this possible. I believe there are a few of them in the room today. And so I'll call them out so that we can all appreciate them together. And so please help me celebrate Detective Corporal Lawrence Blantari of the Ghana Police Service. Unfortunately, he's not here physically. He couldn't travel to be with us, but I believe that DCOP Adefem will pass on the message to him and our gratitude to him also. And let's also celebrate Mr. Divine Gatti. He was the social worker on the case. Mr. Divine has been in this field for many, many, many years, and so really appreciate your contributions and your hard work on this particular case. Thank you, sir. And finally, the police prosecutor, Chief Inspector Henry Doku, who worked with the focal person in charge of human trafficking prosecution in Oti and Volta regions, Senior State Attorney Andrews Doji Adugu. We popularly know him as Doji. I don't know if Chief Inspector Henry Doku is in the building. It looks like he's not here yet, and so we also pass on our congratulations and respect to him. For all of these officers, their diligence, dedication, and commitment to helping build a system that is not only effective, responsible, and efficient is truly, truly commendable. Distinguished guests, welcome once again. And as we delve into today's program, as we pursue the goals of this year's conference, deepening national dialogue on sustainable funding for child protection, strengthening collaboration across sectors, and influencing policy and budget commitments that would help build stronger child protection systems, it is important that we remain grounded in the realities of these conversations, that these conversations and discussions that we have today are ultimately about people. They are about children, families, and communities whose lives are directly affected by the decisions we make here today and by the actions that we all take. And so at this point, let me now invite to the stage a young man whose story powerfully reminds us why our collective efforts to strengthen the justice system matter, why our collective efforts to protect the vulnerable and to invest in child protection matter. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a huge, huge round of applause to welcome an advocate and proud member of the Ghana Survivor Network, Mr. Godson Glau. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Godson Glau from Keta. Most of you may know me, most of you may know my story because of the work that I do in my community. And if you are here, you don't know me or you don't know my story, please, can I have your attention to share with you this morning? I was born in Keta, raised in Keta with 8 siblings. I stay with my parents. I'm living my best life as a child. But when I was 7, my story changed because my father doesn't have enough to send me to school. So there was a man who took advantage of that, came to my father with a promise that he wanted to help me and send me to school in Accra here. And that he have a shop. When I close from school, I'll just be in a shop for him. My father also say, oh, that's a good idea. If only I can be in a school, no problem. But it took us 2 days to reach the place that the man take me to. And as we got to the place, there is no Accra. There is no school. There is 3 only jobs that they do over there. Is either you go to fish, go to the lake, or you go to farm, or you raise the kettles in the village. I remember the first time the man take me to the lake, and he said, Godson, as you can see, there is no school here. This is the work you are here to do. And the man just threw me out of the boat that I have to learn how to swim. I don't know how to swim, 7-year-old boy. But that way from when I had to struggle to survive. That was the way I realized that now my child loving life have been taken away from me. I spent 10 miserable years with a man without seeing my parents, without hearing from them. We go to the lake with long hours. We wake up 4 a.m., go to the lake, I come back 3 o'clock p.m. without food. Sometimes we take only gari and granuts. This man expects me to work like a grown-up man. Even when I've tried my possible best, he'll beat me every single day and insult me. That I will not be useful in my life. I'll forever remain useless. For 10 years that I stayed with the man, I'll only work in the lake. And the village that we are, there's a lot of children in the village. And I have a best friend who follows his both master went to the lake. The master asked him to dive into the lake and put the net up because the net was tangled. The boys went, he never come back alive. That breaks my heart because this is not what I wish for. We continue going to the lake. One day, my boat master asked me to dive into the lake and put the net up. Like what happened to my friend. As I dove into the lake, I've stamped my chest on 3. I have a mark to show. When I struggled to come up, I saw my blood flowing through the lake. I couldn't believe that I would make it. By the grace of God, I'm alive. This man didn't take me to hospital. He still pushed me to the lake and beat me every single day that we went to the lake. And I take all that and I say, no. Without seeing my parents for so many years and the death of my best friend, I have that womb, but still they will take me to the lake and beat me. I say, no, what am I living for? It's better that I end it all. So I decided to take a poison to end my life, to commit a suicide. But a stranger find me. There was a young lady find me and said, do not take it because you have a great future. You can survive this, so do not take it. And she take the poison away from me. That moment I said, no, I will not end this. I went back to the community and gathered some of my friends, tried to run away from the community. But we couldn't find our way to escape because we are young before they brought us to the community. So we stayed back, continued going to the lake. One fateful morning, that was a miracle morning for me. I didn't know that God has a second plan for me. We went to the lake. There was a boat with police officers. They came to us. That was 2015, April, Saturday morning. They came to us. They asked my name, and I mentioned my name. They asked my age, and I mentioned my age. They just pulled me out of the canoe. After they take me in, I was afraid, wondering, asking myself, what did I do wrong to the policemen before they came to arrest me? Little did I know that they came to rescue my life. Until there was a man who spoke my language, was saying that we are here to free you from the bondage. We are not here to harm you. They take me to Ho, take me to the social welfare. They gave me clothes. They gave me food that I missed for so many years, for 10 miserable years of my life. They even take me to hospital to heal my womb. After that, they placed me in aftercare. When I was in aftercare, before they had to look for my parents. So after they looked for my parents, my father could not recognize me. Why? Because according to him, he said anytime my postmaster is coming to visit him, he will show a particular picture to him that I am the one that in school. Meanwhile, I'm in the lake suffering. After that, aftercare asked me, what do you like to do, Gosin? And I say, I want to learn electricals. Though I'm 17 years, but I still want to go back to school and learn electricals. And they enrolled me to a school in Ho, Vocational Training Center, and I study electricals. As I'm standing here, I am a professional engineer. And after I finished school, aftercare came and set up a business for me. So I have my own electrical shop that I manage to support my family now. In 2021, we survivors, we come together to form the network called Ghana Survivor Network to run 3 years campaign, to go back to our various places, to use our voice, to use our story to educate people about child trafficking. As we go back, we collaborate with Social Welfare, NCC, and the Ghana Police Service. We go to churches to raise awareness, school, radio station, one-on-one, door-to-door, and a house meeting, and event centers to use our story to educate people to end child trafficking in Ghana. And now in Keta, pastors are preaching about child trafficking. Teachers are teaching about child trafficking. And now parents are reporting cases to police and social welfare because now they know that child trafficking is a crime. And one pastor, a particular pastor that is helping us a lot in Keta, that pastor, anytime we are going to radio station, he pays for airtime for us to go free. Anytime we are going to another community to raise awareness, he'll pay transportation for us to support our work to be easier. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me acknowledge Pastor Francis Deku. He's the one standing here. This rescue was possible because IJM supported. IJM provide all the resources that police need to rescue. IJM supported and give everything that social welfare need to support me as a child. IJM supports, give everything, resources that IJM have to give to aftercare to take care of me. IJM did all of that for me. IJM make me who I am today. We, the survivors, Ghana Survivor Network, we are appealing to government to do more, to bring more resources, to support the police to do their rescue work. And we want the government to provide money for social welfare, aftercare, so that they can take care of other children. I am free today. There's a lot of children in the lake still suffering. I cannot say that I have my freedom today. I will not talk. I will fight for them. So we are appealing to government to come to our aid to help Ghana Police Service to strengthen with the resources that they need to fight against child trafficking. And I'm appealing to each of us here, individual, to support us with a little that you have to support us to end child trafficking, like how the pastor did. Through the pastor, we are able to reach a lot of communities to do advocacy work in Keta. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ghana Police Service for their good work that they did. And thank Social Welfare for their support and Aftercare for their support. And my colleagues, GSN leaders, for their encouragement for me, especially International Justice Mission. Without them, I am nothing. They are the one who make me who I am today. Together, we can fight this child trafficking. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Godson. Thank you. And I just want you to think about it. For 10 years, all he did was to go fish. He came back at the age of 17, but decided to go to school. And just last night, we were having a conversation, and he says, Ernest, I want to go back to school. Only restoration can make people dream again. Put your hands together one more time for Godson. I think that he's done some great work in his community, some advocacy work, and some of it is captured in a video. Would want to show that to you briefly. Please, a round of applause for Godson. And his chapter of the Survivor Network is called My Story Counts. They are entering the nooks and crannies in Keta with a message to end child trafficking. And I think that it's a good time to acknowledge some of the leaders of the Ghana Survivor Network who are here with us this morning. Please stand, let's acknowledge you. They are coming from Shreda, from Adan, from Asasewa. And so you can get in touch with them so they can support your community work. And thanks to the Department of Social Welfare for supporting them. Now, the next speaker reminds me of what happened last week. Some 3 lions wanted to stand against 33 lions, but we stood our grounds. And even though we are out of the tournament, it still feels like victory for having drawn with England. Ladies and gentlemen, he is president of the Africa-Europe region of International Justice Mission. Please let's receive to give us a special address, Andy Griffith, the president for Europe, Africa, IJM.
Honourable Ministers, distinguished members of Parliament, good partners in government, colleagues in civil society, and friends, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to join you here today. Thank you. It really is a privilege to be here in Ghana. I've enjoyed the banku, I've enjoyed the tilapia, I've enjoyed the shito. But I do realize that it is a difficult time for Ghanaians with the exit of the Black Stars. And I stand here actually in sadness because I was supporting you also from London. So commiserations, and that was a great performance and a deserved draw. But seriously, I am honored to be here in Ghana. It's a country that has shown a steady commitment over a long period of time to protecting its children and to strengthening justice systems. Work that is really close to my heart, and I know that it's close to yours as well. Because this is work that does belong to all of us. The progress that you have made over the years is real, and we celebrate it. There are increased arrests of traffickers, stronger prosecutions, sustained national attention to the issue of human trafficking. This reflects your leadership on the issue, and it matters, because behind every single statistic is a child who deserves dignity, safety, and the freedom to grow, learn, and to thrive. There's something else that I want to make very clear at the outset, and that is that violence against children and human trafficking are problems, they're not simply problems of one country or one region. They exist in every single part of the world. This is not Ghana's problem alone to carry. It is a shared global challenge. And what brings us together today is, to me, deeply encouraging, because every person in this room is taking the choice to stand for justice. It's an honor to be among people like yourselves who are not willing to look away, people who are committed to building a future where children are truly free to grow and to flourish. Thank you, Godson, for sharing your experience and for calling us to action. And I want to add that it is not because of IJM that you are who you are. It is because of your strength and your character and the grace of God and those who helped you. That is why you are who you are and where you are today. Stories like yours remind us all of what is at stake. A child is exploited. Eventually, they're rescued. But what happens next depends on the strength of the system that is around them. Will they receive care? Will their traffickers be held accountable? Will they be protected from further harm? Will other children also be protected from trafficking? These outcomes are not automatic. They will only be achieved if the system is working. Systems that all of us together are responsible for strengthening. And so today's conversation really brings us to a simple but a decisive question. Will we match our shared commitment to protect children with the resources required to do it? Because we know this: progress in justice will not be sustained by good intentions alone. It is sustained by systems that are funded, staffed, and equipped to respond to violence and to protect those who are most vulnerable, children. In Ghana, the foundations are already in place. The Human Trafficking Act established not only a strong legal framework, but also the Human Trafficking Fund, designed to support survivors and to enable a truly victim-centered approach. This was a visionary step, and it reflects leadership that understands that protection must be practical as well as principled. At International Justice Mission, we have had the privilege of working alongside governments in many different parts of the world. And what has inspired us most is this: real and lasting change happens when national leaders, like those in this room, choose not to stand still in the face of injustice. We have seen several governments around the world take this step to strengthen their justice system, to invest in enforcement, and to prioritize protection of those who are vulnerable to violence. And as those governments have done so, we have seen something remarkable happen. Real and measurable reductions in trafficking and violence, time and again. From 50% to 85% reductions in the prevalence of trafficking and violence in 9 different places around the world. And that is not because of organizations like International Justice Mission. It is because governments have led the way. Our role has simply been to come alongside those who have already determined what they want to do, to strengthen systems, and to help turn commitment into protection that lasts. And it is our joy as IJM to do that work, especially with leaders who are building something that will endure long after each one of us has left our roles. One of the lessons that we've learned, together with our partners, is simple. When justice systems are consistently resourced, protection becomes predictable. Survivors receive care. Cases move forward. Traffickers are held accountable. Justice becomes something that people can rely on every day, not just something that they hope maybe one day will happen. And this is why mechanisms like the Human Trafficking Fund are so important, because it represents something powerful. It's a national commitment, not only written in law, but it's expressed in action. It's a commitment that says that when a child is rescued, support will be there. When a case is reported, the system will respond. Ghana has already shown tremendous leadership by establishing the Human Trafficking Fund. The opportunity before us now is to ensure that it can fully do what it was created to do, to become a reliable source of support for survivors, a practical tool for frontline responders, and a visible expression of Ghana's commitment in protecting its children. Around the world, we have seen what happens when governments do take this step, when commitment is matched by sustained investment. The impact is truly profound. Systems grow stronger, public trust increases, and most importantly, children are safer. From our shared experience as IJM in multiple contexts, we've seen 3 things that support this kind of progress. The first is consistent public investment so that systems can function reliably and sustainably. The second is partnership across sectors, because this work does require all of us, government, civil society, survivor leaders, and others, all working together in an aligned way. Thirdly, it requires data-driven action, where evidence is used to show what is working and resources can be directed where they will have the greatest impact. Now, these are not abstract ideas, they're practical pathways that leaders have used to create real and lasting change. At IJM, we remain committed to standing alongside the government of Ghana and other partners, bringing what we have learned, supporting the strengthening of the justice system, and walking together as protection becomes a reality for more and more children. The most important leadership is right here in this room. It's government leaders like yourselves, and it is survivor leaders like Godson. And so today, I do want to respectfully invite all of us, and especially those who are entrusted with public leadership, to take the next step together, to ensure that the systems that are already in place are fully resourced to strengthen the steps and the other action that has already begun, and to translate this shared commitment that we have into consistent, constant protection. Moments like this really matter because they do shape what happens next. Years from now, the story of child protection in Ghana will be written, not just in policies, but in the choices that we make in moments like these. Choices that determine whether or not systems are strengthened, whether resources are mobilized, and therefore whether children are truly protected. So there's an opportunity here to build something that is lasting, a system of protection that will serve this generation and also generations to come, a legacy of justice that will reflect the values that are already embodied in everybody in this room, so that every child in this country is not only seen, but is protected, is not only hopeful, but is safe. So it's an honor to stand alongside you in this work, because this work does belong to all of us until all are free. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. One more time, let's put our hands together for him as he takes his seat. Financing child protection is a shared responsibility, but also throws a challenge to government to step up its game. Very soon we'll be hearing from the gender minister. But before she comes, I'm excited about the next speaker because of his background. So he is a very distinguished academic in finance and economics, known to many of us here. He's consulted for many institutions, both locally and internationally. But currently, he occupies a very special seat at the local government service, which is why his speech is very important. Finance is the reason we are gathered here today, but the local government service is also very crucial to child protection. So I'm eager to hear what he says. But also, I'd like to add that he taught me and he gave me a B. I did not earn a B. He gave me a B. Because it's not an A, I'll say he gave me a B. If it were an A, I would have said that I got an A. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and on and on about his bio, but I know he's a very modest man. Please, let's receive the head of the local government service, Professor Lord Mensah. Put your hands together for him.
Thank you. Good morning. Just by the way, we the lecturers, we know that if you get a B, it's the lecturers who gives you B. But if you get an A, it means you work for it. We know perfectly from where we sit. Honorable Minister, please permit me to stand on all protocols to deliver a message from the local government service. On behalf of the service, we are deeply honored to join this program, that is National Justice Conference. And I extend my gratitude to the International Justice Commission, Ghana, for gathering us here on the topic, sustainable funding for child protection against labor exploitation. Sustainability is key because the problem we face is also, sustainable. We have a problem that goes over many generations, and therefore we need funding that can go on generations. Child labor exploitation, whether through trafficking, forced labor, or hazardous work, remains one of the most pressing challenges confronting our nation. Whilst Ghana has made commendable strides in reducing these practices, the reality is that too many of our children are still denied the right to safe childhood, education, and dignity. This is not merely a social issue. It is a governance issue that we need to appreciate, a development issue as well, and ultimately a moral issue. The future of Ghana depends on the protection of its children. Local government institutions are the front line of community development and social protection. District assemblies, municipal authorities, and metros, and the local councils are uniquely positioned to, 1, identify vulnerable households and children at risk. We cannot continue to solve this problem from the center. We need to take it right to the local level. 2, coordinate interventions with social welfare, education, and law enforcement agencies. 3, mobilize local resources and partnership to sustain child protection initiatives. And 4, which is the last one but not the least, ensure accountability by monitoring the implementation of child protection policies at the grassroots level. We must therefore strengthen the capacity of the local government systems to serve as reliable guardians of child welfare. The theme of this conference rightly emphasized sustainable funding. Without predictable and locally driven financing, our child protection systems will remain fragile. I propose 3 key pathways to ensure sustainable financing. The first one is mainstreaming child protection into local budgets. District assemblies must allocate dedicated funds for child protection, ensuring that interventions are not donor-dependent but community-owned. Second, public-private partnership. The private sector has a responsibility to contribute to safeguarding the future workforce. Corporate social responsibility initiatives should be prioritized child protection. The third, but not the least, is community-based financing models. Leveraging traditional leadership, faith-based organizations, and local cooperatives can create grassroots funding streams that directly support vulnerable children. Protecting children from labor exploitation is not the responsibility of government alone. It requires a whole of society approach where Parliament enacts stronger laws, law enforcement ensures compliance, civil society advocates for accountability, academia provide evidence-based solutions, and community themselves take ownership of safeguarding their children. Together, we can build a system that is resilient, transparent, and sustainable. Let us leave this conference not only with ideas, but with commitments. Commitment to 1, strengthen coordination across institutions. 2, invest in sustainable financing mechanisms. And 3, hold ourselves accountable to the children of Ghana. Every child deserves the chance to dream, to learn, and to thrive. It is our collective duty to ensure that no child is robbed of that future through exploitation. As head of the local government service, I pledge our unwavering support to this national effort. We stand ready to work hand in hand with IJM Ghana, government agencies, and all stakeholders to enhance sustainable solutions for child protection. May today's dialogue inspire action, and may our commitment translate into lasting change for children of Ghana. Thank you, and may God bless our nation, Ghana, and its children.
Thank you very much, Professor Lord Mensah. Thank you for bringing us solutions. So he said we should mainstream the budgeting of child protection. We should explore a PPP option and also community-based financing models. And Prof, like you like to do, we'll interrogate these options when we have the panel conversation. Thank you very much. Now, next to speak to us is a man who, just like Prof, has a very outstanding career when it comes to finance. And I could go on and on about his bio, but make no mistake, he's a very passionate advocate for Human Rights. Currently, he is the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Human Rights in the Parliament of Ghana. Over the last few months, and over the last year, I should say, he's been a wonderful ally, a worthy partner of IJM. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me receive the Honorable Ernest Enim. Please put your hands together for him as he addresses us with a lens from Parliament.
Good morning, everyone. The Honorable Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection permits me to stand on existing protocol. I am pleased and grateful for the opportunity to join you today as we deliberate on this all-important subject. The protection of children against labor exploitation is not only essential to the well-being of children directly affected by harmful labor practices, but also to the future of our society, our nation, and our shared humanity. It is therefore an issue that we on the Committee on Human Rights in Parliament, a committee recently established by the Right Honourable Speaker following the coming into force of the new standing orders, take very seriously. Honourable Minister, child labour has remained a persistent challenge in Ghana. Recent reports estimate that more than 1.1 million children aged between 5 to 17 are engaged in economic activity, with over 458,000 missing school as a result. These children are largely engaged in mining, fishing, domestic work, and other forms of hazardous labor. According to the 2021 survey reports by Child Rights International titled Ghana Through the Lens of Children, which is present in the next 20 years, which surveyed 11,288 children between the ages of 12 and 17. That represents 48% of female and 52% male respondents. An overwhelming 93% indicated that they were proud to be Ghanaians. However, 55% expressed the desire to leave the country by 2040, citing employment opportunities, access to quality education, and better standards of living as their primary reasons. The survey further revealed the concerns that weigh most heavily on the minds of our children. 66% identify unemployment as their greatest concern, followed by poverty at 42%, corruption at 36%, the growing number of orphans and street children also at 36%. When asked where government should prioritize expenditure, 77% called for employment creation, while 50% advocated for increased investment in quality education and social protection systems. Others prioritize infrastructure, agriculture, development, and security. Honorable Minister, these statistics are affirmed by our nation's National Human Rights Institution, which is SHRAJ, which conclude that child labor deprives children of education, protection, development, and a safe childhood, as well as the observations by UNICEF, which points to poverty, weak social services, and climate-related shocks as major drivers. As a Committee on Human Rights, we have partnered with UNICEF and the Interparliamentary Union and undertaken monitoring visits to Bibiani in the Western North, Ayenswano in the Eastern region to help address and actively confront child labor and child trafficking related issues. We have also collaborated with IJM and undertaken capacity building workshops and also programs for members with a goal to begin constituency and district level child protection activities, with the first and most recent activity which was held in the Suhum Municipal. This is the intention of the committee, to continue to collaborate with IGM to help ensure that we establish child protection committees across all the MMDAs in Ghana. Broadly, however, there have been efforts to provide sustainable funding for child protection through the passage of the Social Protection Act 2025, which is Act 1148, with provision for a social protection fund, which provides funding for social protection of vulnerable persons, including children. However, despite this, I believe on behalf of the committee that the time is right for dedicated funding for child protection, and thus the institution of a child protection fund to enhance and support efforts to prevent child abuse and protect children against occurrences such as those against labor exploitation. Our committee and IJM, together with other CSOs, we have been leading in the call for the local government ministry to set up dedicated funding at the district level to help fight child protection issues within our various districts across the country. It is my hope and expectation that together we shall forge a new and comprehensive path forward to better protect the rights and vulnerabilities of children in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Ernest Inim, who is also Member of Parliament for Kumeu. Thank you so much, sir. And now it is time for us to hear our keynote speaker. And she's no stranger to all of us here in this room. We know her as very hardworking and very modest. So even before I start introducing her, she's coming already to the podium. But I'll crave her indulgence to just highlight only 3 things about her, which I'm sure she'll be happy with. So first, she has over 2 decades of experience when it comes to community-based and national organization and in different areas of social protection. Also, she has hands-on experience for over 15 years when it comes to project and local governance issues, education, and child rights. She's really no novice in this space. And also, at all times, she's happy to be associated with the people of Krowo because she represents them in Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, with a standing ovation, let's receive our Minister for Gender, Children, and Social Protection, the Honorable Agnes Namumulate.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Please resume your seats respectfully. Good morning. Those of you who know me very well, you know I like my good mornings back. Good morning. Good morning. That is more like it. It brings energy and all the good things. So this morning, in the same team spirit that Mr. Griffiths and Ernest spoke about, I just want to cheer all of us. After the match with England, I felt we had won the World Cup. And so I said to people, it doesn't matter what happens after that match. We won. And so today I stand here on behalf of the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection to speak about team spirit, something that needs all of society's approach. And I think speaker after speaker have spoken about that. Honorable Ernest Inim, my colleague, Member of Parliament, and also the Chair on Select Committee on Human Rights, the Chief Justice, I'm not sure I have seen him around, and then Regional President for Africa and Europe, IJM, our Director, West African Program, my dear sister, and the Head of Local Government Service. It is a great pleasure to also acknowledge the Head of the Human Trafficking Secretariat of the Ministry. I'm sure the judiciary is well represented here. I see some few familiar faces, development partners, representatives of IJM, traditional and religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is both an honor and a privilege to address you this morning at the 2026 National Justice Conference. Permit me to commend the International Justice Mission and all partners for convening this timely conference under the theme Sustainable Funding for Child Protection Against Labor Exploitation. The choice of this theme is both strategic and timely. It challenges us to look beyond the immediate responses to child labor exploitation and consider how we collectively build and sustain the systems that protect children over long term. Protecting children is not the responsibility of any single institution. It is a shared national responsibility that requires sustained commitment from government, parliament, the judiciary, development partners, civil society, the private sector, communities, families, and every citizen. Sustainable child protection, therefore, depends not only on strong laws and institutions, but also on predictable financing, effective partnership, and a shared commitment to safeguarding the rights and well-being of every child. As we gather here today, we are reminded that every child subjected to labor exploitation is denied the opportunity to fully enjoy his or her rights, realize his or her potential, and contribute meaningfully to national development. Our collective responsibility extends beyond rescue and rehabilitation. It includes building resilient systems of prevention, protection, and accountability that leaves no child behind. Sustainable financing or funding is central to achieving this objective. Without adequate and reliable investment, even the strongest policies, legal frameworks, and institutional arrangements cannot deliver their full impact. Investing in child protection is therefore not merely a social obligation. It is an investment in human capital, economic productivity, social cohesion, and Ghana's future development. Every child working in hazardous conditions represents interrupted education, compromised health, reduced future productivity, and lost opportunities for national development. The costs are borne not only by the affected child and family, but by society as a whole. This is why investment in child protection should be viewed as a shared investment in Ghana's future. Distinguished guests, allow me to turn to the central theme of this conference: sustainable financing. One of the greatest lessons from child protection programming globally is that lasting impact is achieved when investments are predictable, coordinated, and sustained over time. Sustainable financing is therefore not simply about increasing resources. It is about ensuring that available resources are strategically aligned, efficiently utilized, and directed towards interventions that deliver lasting outcomes for children. This requires a diversified approach to financing. Government has an important leadership role through national planning and public investment. Development partners continue to provide valuable technical and financial support. Civil society organizations strengthen service delivery and community engagement. The private sector contributes through responsible business practices and corporate social investments. Communities and families also play a critical role in prevention and early intervention. When these complementary investments work together, child protection systems become stronger, more resilient, and better able to respond to emerging challenges. Sustainable financing also means investing in prevention. Every intervention that keeps a child safely in school strengthens families, supports vulnerable households, or prevents exploitations, reduces future costs associated with health care, criminal justice, rehabilitation, and lost economic productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, protecting children requires coordinated investments across institutions and sectors. The justice sector, law enforcement agencies, social welfare services, labor administration, education, health, local government institutions, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, and development partners each contribute unique strengths to the national child protection system. No single institution, and I mean no single institution, can achieve lasting success in isolation. A coordinated financing approach enables these institutions to complement one another, minimize duplication, maximize impact, and ensure that children receive timely and comprehensive protection services wherever they live. Justice remains one of the strongest pillars of child protection. An accessible, responsive, and well-resourced justice system reinforces public confidence, protects victims, holds perpetrators accountable, and deters future exploitation. Continued investment in specialized investigators, prosecutors, judicial officers, legal aid, survivor support services, data systems, and professional capacity development will further strengthen the effectiveness of Ghana's child protection systems. Equally important is sustained collaboration among all institutions involved in prevention, protection, prosecution, and rehabilitation so that every child receives coordinated and timely support. One of Ghana's greatest strengths has been the partnerships that have evolved across government, development partners, civil society, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, communities, and the private sector. These partnerships have contributed significantly to strengthening child protection systems, expanding public awareness, improving service delivery, and supporting policy reforms. We particularly acknowledge the contribution of organizations such as the International Justice Mission, UNICEF, ILO, and many others whose technical expertise, innovation, and collaboration continue to strengthen our collective response. The progress we seek will continue to depend on maintaining these strong partnerships while ensuring that successful initiatives are embedded within national systems and supported through shared ownership. As we look ahead, our collective priorities should include strengthening child protection systems at national and district levels, promoting sustainable financing for child protection across sectors, expanding social protection interventions that reduce household vulnerability, strengthening justice sector capacity, improving data and evidence for decision making, enhancing collaboration among all child protection actors, and deepening partnerships that leverage the cooperative strengths of government, development partners, civil society, and private sector. Together, these priorities will help Ghana move closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal Target 8.7 and our broader national commitment to ensuring that every child grows up in safety, dignity, and opportunity. Distinguished guests, the future we desire for Ghana depends on the choices we make for our children today. A nation that consistently invests in the protection, education, and well-being of its children is investing in its own peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. The responsibility before us belongs to all of us. Governments provide leadership and policy direction. Parliament enacts laws and approves resources. The judiciary upholds justice. Development partners strengthen national efforts. Civil society and communities extend their reach. Families nurture and protect children. The private sector creates opportunities and promotes responsible business practices. When each of us plays our role and our part, our collective impact becomes far greater than the sum of our individual contributions. Let this conference therefore reaffirm our shared commitment to rebuilding or building a child protection system that is well coordinated, sustainably financed, and capable of protecting every child from labor exploitation. Together, through partnership, innovation, and sustained investment, we can create a Ghana where every child is safe, every child's rights are protected, and every child has the opportunity to reach his or her full potential. I want to thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Agnes Na Momo Latte, Doctor. She holds a PhD as well. Thank you, Madam, for that very inspiring speech. We thank you for reassuring us of government's commitment to child protection. So, fortunately, I'm not the one doing the panel conversation, moderating. And I'm saying fortunately because I have someone here who is more competent. She was my boss when I was in media. And not only is she very good at her job, but she's also very passionate about child trafficking. She's one of those who, if there's an emergency and I'm called as a news anchor to just step in, the first thing I'm asking, because I wasn't involved in production, I'm asking who is the producer. Once I hear her name, I can just walk to the set and I know I'll be fine. She's that competent and very capable. She's done media for well over almost 2 decades or more, a communication strategist. And ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and on. Please help me welcome Head of News for Adom Brands at the Multimedia Group, Mrs. Martha Crensel Aqua. Please put your hands together for Mrs. Martha Crensel Aqua. I hand over the microphone to her as she leads us in this session.
Thank you very much. You have all been pleasant, and we've done great up to this time. It tells us that our commitment is unwavering. We are here to do what needs to be done. While sitting there and listening and watching, I asked myself, which child will go hunting if there is food available? No child will do that. If you know where your next meal is coming from, you will not be wondering what you'll be eating because you'll be served. And so if we are able to put strategies, we are able to put policies, and we are able to do what is needful, no child will be found in labor because that's not their place. So we are going to continue our conversation. And so I am here. My name is Martha, and I'll be doing this. Fortunately, I'll be asking the questions. Unfortunately, for the rest, they will answer the questions. And if they fail to answer, you are here to help me make them answer. Because we need to find solutions. We don't have to leave here like another day that we came to work and we just closed. We must go home with some thought-provoking words and make sure this works. It has to work. So I'll be doing this with Madam Esther Ufori Ajeman. And she is the head of Child Labor Unit, Labor Department under the Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. Esther is a national coordinator of all child labor interventions under the ministry, where she has served for 7 years. She has extensive experience in child protection issues and has led Ghana on the path towards achieving child labor-free zones. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Esther Ufori Ajeman. She's coming from my extreme right. Oh, keep applauding until she gets here. So she knows that she must answer the questions. Thank you very much. Is there a space there? I think you should have used the other one. You want the shortcut? Yeesh. Thank you very much. Then I have Madam Abna Anobia Asari. She is also the director for the Human Trafficking Secretariat under the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. With over 18 years work experience, she has gained knowledge and experience in the field of gender-based violence, child protection, migration, and human trafficking. That is Abna Anobia Asari. Said you didn't clap for her. At this point, I'm sure you are wondering, are we going to have an all-women panel? Don't worry. When it comes to protection, child care, we are there, so don't worry. Then there is Gloria Emeka. And she is a development communications professional and children's rights advocate with over 10 years of experience in advocacy, project management, and community mobilization. She's worked with many NGOs and currently serves as a national advocacy advisor at SOS Children's Villages in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Gloria Emeka. Where is Gloria? Gloria is hiding. Gloria was my classmate. We did our MPhil together. Yes. So there's something that binds us, pressure together. Then the unfortunate or very privileged or very fortunate man in our midst is our own Honorable Ernest Yawenim, MP for Kumewu and Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Human Rights. Please do it better for him. Give him motivation. He's going to be here with us so that we do this together. Honorable, we are giving you double portion of the clap because you do double portion of the job. Please, another round of applause for my panelists. So when Mr. Andy Griffith was speaking, he gave us 3 points to ensure sustainable financing. He said you need to have consistent public investment, you need to have partnership across board, and you must have data-driven action. That is the first point. Then, Professor Lord Mensah also gave 3 points in order to ensure sustainable financing, and that is mainstreaming child protection into main budget, then public-private partnership, and then community-based financing. Then when Honorable spoke, he told us that there's a need for dedicated funding at the district level. Then the minister also gave us her pointers. Key among them is to strengthen child protection at the local level. It tells us that the nerve center is the local level. I am going to start with Esther and ask, how far, or do you think we have come far? We've done enough. We agree we have not, but somebody must say we have not. So I will not say it. Do you think we have done enough to help and ensure that there is sustainable financing for child protection?
Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone. Do I think we've done enough? The first thought that came to mind, if what we have done, we didn't have done it, I'm sure we wouldn't be here by now.
Okay.
And so my simple answer would be that yes, we have done enough. But so far as children are being trapped still in all forms of child protection cases, human trafficking, child labor, and other forms of child protection cases, I think that there's still more to be done.
Okay.
But looking at the story where we started child labor elimination since the 2000s till now, I'll speak on child labor. I'm sure Abna will come in on human trafficking. I would say that yes, enough has been done. Resources have been pumped. Community actions have been done. Policy interventions have been put across. Awareness and sensitization programs have gone ahead. It all boils down to resource availability and all that are possible. So my simple answer is that yes, a lot has been done, but there still needs more action to be done. And the reason I'm stressing on more action to be done is that we need sustainable measures as a country in terms of child protection issues. And looking at sustainable actions, my overall aim and goal is to ensure that community members, community actions are driven such that community members own child protection, elimination, as well as child labor and human trafficking at the heart of the communities, so that programs become sustainable, policy interventions become sustainable, a lot of interventions that donors, partners, including other NGOs put in place is sustainable. And looking at financing matter, one of the key things I would want to share is how we are able to come up with a multi-donor trust fund. I say this because as the head of the child labor unit and from where I sit, there are certain constraints that actually hinders or permits government's role and activities to be done. One of the key challenges for me, I know Honorable is here, another is timely budget releases for institutions to work with. And I think that looking at the nature and the pace at which we are going as a country, we should be able to leverage on existing resources available, coordinate and work together as a group, and make sure that the limited resources available is actually yielding a much impact for us as a country. And so multi-donor stakeholder financing, I think for me, is the way to go. When we all bring together our resources together in the face of issues where now resources are becoming very scarce, looking at the US government withdrawing from other projects and all stuff, and yes to government interventions as well, I think that multi-donor stakeholders financing being brought together, including private sector companies coming to the forefront, helping and complementing government efforts, for me, I think is the way to go. And the fund should be actually used for specific activities. And my takeaway for me from all this was that child protection issues should be a priority of this government and all successive governments as well. When child protection becomes a priority, we do not actually have the leverage to say that we need to fight it as a country or not. Just as when elections are coming, we are able to hold our politicians accountable. We are able to hold Ghanaians accountable to the process. Forgive me, but when any government comes into power, when it's 100 days, we are able to say that in the 100 days that the government succeeded, what was achieved. If we are able to actually hold ourselves accountable to the process and make child protection a priority, I think and I believe that financing will be at the heart of every government that comes to place and will be able to fight child protection to the utmost level that we desire. Thank you.
That's a strong opening, please. A round of applause for her. A very strong opening. It's like she's prepared, though. She's shooting on shot. She's not going to waste the time. But when you mentioned specifics, you want the fund to be specific. It begs thinking that sometimes it's allocated generally, and what it is used for, you really can't pinpoint and say, oh, so you said you were going to rescue with this amount of money, you didn't do it. Because that is the whole idea of hiding under a lot of things and then you do nothing.
No, so to put better perspective, as a country, we have what we call the medium-term development plans.
Okay.
And these plans are accumulated across district assemblies, across ministry departments and agencies. And so these plans are clear action points, clear activities that we intend to actually put in place as a country. And I believe that in planning or developing this plan, certain priorities must be given. Okay. If you look at district or medium-term development plans from various districts, I'm sorry to say that child protection usually, or many at times, is not a priority. I think we just have to be blunt. But I think over time, we've seen a different narrative. And this is just an encouragement to all of us. I saw the head of the local government service seated here. It is for a wake-up call for all of us seated here. Whether you are government, because it is the activities of government institutions, including district assemblies, that culminates or aligns with partners seated here's activities. And so if I'm a district assembly and I have a plan, it is the plan of the district assembly that IJM will align to. It is the plan of the district assembly that UNICEF, ILO, or IOM, any NGO would align to. Because that plan feeds into the broader plan of government. And so all I'm saying is that when specific activities are given and priorities are given, then we'll be able to do targeted and specific things that will yield much impact for us as a country in terms of child protection.
Thank you for the clarification. It helps a lot. But Esther, when she talks about financing, you are Abna. Esther, Abna, this is Abna. Yes, I'll get it right. This is Abna, so I'm going to Abna. What are the biggest constraints for you when it comes to financing child protection?
Thank you. If Esther is Abna and Abna is Esther, I'm wondering how the fireworks would have been. But so good afternoon once again to, it's still morning at least, so good morning to all of us. I think first, let me break this down into 3 resources that I think we need. So I'll talk first of the human resource before I come to the finance. And so majority of the time, the family is one of the major resources that we need in terms of child protection. And over the period, one of the critical challenges our culture frustrates ideas and beliefs. And so you have instances where family ignorantly or consciously think child exploitation is nothing. We are strengthening the child, grooming the child. And some of them go extreme. And so the family, who is the first wealth of resource to protect, whether in monetary, because most of them is for economic purposes, that is why they exploit. So the same finances that they need to protect this child, they want that child to provide. And so we see a lot of street hawking, children working beyond their capacity, children even sometimes being sent on irregular migration, adults themselves being sent to work to take care of the family. And nowadays, I'm very conscious, also talking for the men, where young men are forced because society sees men as the breadwinners, heads of families, consciously or unconsciously. And so a lot of pressure is on them, and they are forced out. And so this same finances, this same resource, which is supposed to be in the home to protect, end up rather hurting, affecting, leading to exploitation, abuse. The second is the community, which is supposed to be the next eye. And that is where I think I was very glad when the head of local government was talking about the community responding, because per the Children's Act, they are the first respondent. And it's quite interesting that anytime any child is on the street, the first point of call is the Ministry of Gender. No, it's the local assembly, the local district metropolitan, because they actually, what I call partition. So metropolitans know their boundaries. And so they become the next resource that if we are able to work within this community, we would have reduced the amount of money actually that central government need to provide because they would have done most of the work, reducing cost. So here I will talk about like inaction, which becomes a lot of financing that we are losing because we are not acting at that level. Then the next challenge actually and worth of money, Ghanaians love to travel. So migration is one of the greatest resources. That brings us remittances, that brings us money. We see migration as a privilege. Migration is status, whether we like it or yes. Majority of us here want to travel. So even the ministry's level, if we don't travel, it's like your minister or your chief director don't like you because you want to travel so that we can post on our status. Those who went for the World Cup, we saw how they were spiting us. But even at the stadium, they can't see slow motion. We can see. But we would have loved to be them. And so trafficking, exploitation, abuse is often, cohabitating, if I can say so. People end up going the irregular way, going through the Mediterranean, the desert, end up being exploited in the name of money. And so we end up now needing more money to curb the issue of trafficking child labor. Then let's come back home now as to whether, I will put it this way, do we have enough to do enough? First of all, policy is one of our major work, those of us here, apart from So we are to enact policies. I think Ghana has done very well in that direction. Ghana does very well in policies. In terms of policy. So even with trafficking, but the implementation. So I sit over a fund, and Honorable, you are here. I know you've heard about it over and over. 10 years ago, 1 million into the fund was a lot of money. I was so excited in 2015 when the fund actually was reactivated after 2008. So the fund, per the law, in 2005. It was activated in 2009 with 10,000 Ghana cedis. It was a lot of money then. 10,000 Ghana cedis in 2009 was a lot of money because the money had devalued. So that was around like 10 billion or something, 10,000 Ghana cedis. But then it became dormant after our first operation, and in 2015 it was reactivated. 2016 we received 1 million into the fund. We were able to do a lot. Our national plan of action, we started rescues, rigorous training, community sensitization. Fast forward to where we are now, 1 million is not enough.
It's not enough.
And unfortunately, that is still what we receive from government. I told Ministry of Finance that I'll mention Ministry of Finance because we need more.
It has not been increased over how many years?
So it was increased in 2022 to 2 million. Okay. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a full release. And it went back to 1 million. And so our appeal is not enough. We need more.
Sorry to cut you again. So it was increased to 2 million.
Yes.
But you got 1 million. So on paper, it was 2 million.
At that time.
In actual, 1 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we are back to 1 million.
Okay.
Consistently. But again, when you even compare the same amount in 2022 to even now, you can see that now it's woefully inadequate. Let me also talk about the fact that, yes, we get donor support, donor-driven agenda, but donors often don't do a lot of things that government is expected to do. For instance, a donor is willing to build your capacity. Sometimes I even run away from the capacity building. My capacity has been built enough. Most of our stakeholders
and so
here
the
know.
fund is going into capacity building.
No,
because that's what they want to do.
Yes, most times, majority of the times, other support. They are willing to support victim care, but in other areas. Okay. So we will appeal. The fund is open. It's not only government that is supposed to donate into the fund. Mm-hmm. All agencies, donors also can put it into the fund. Or you can come with a project program. We are willing to partner to work alongside so that at least in the end we'll be able to do what we are expected to do. Apart from the human resource side, that is a worth of also funding or worth of resource that we can also harness, that if each of us do our own bit, it will get to the bigger level that will need a lot of money to rescue.
Yes.
And
So when you
rehabilitate.
mentioned the figures, I wanted to double check with my figures I have here. So the core child protection spending for 2024 was supposed to be 314.6 million Ghana cedis, which is 0.12% of government expenditure. Then you come down and it says spending per child or domestic violence fund, 1 million, that's at 2023. And there's a breakdown. But none of them met for instance, the UNICEF requirement or suggestion or proposal that, for instance, you should have between 1 to 2 million for the domestic violence fund. And we had 1 million. And it has been like that for some time. So it's just a confirmation of what you just said. But
I mean, the DV fund, I call it the twin fund because both of them are run under the ministry. And often we almost have similar releases. So you are not out of, yes.
Okay,
it's
so when you mentioned the donor funding, has our problem not been that we are depending on donor more than raising our own funds? Because this is what is important for us, to us. So why are we not putting our monies where our mouths are? And we are hoping that donor will bring something. That is one of the unsustainable ways of financing some of these unprioritized areas. So let me just go to Gloria and I'll come back to you. Or you have something to say about that?
I think maybe before, let's get things in perspective.
Okay.
I always want to. And first of all, often we do not acknowledge, for example, if a police officer is going to go for a rescue, the whole operation is funded by government.
Okay.
You will get, we are here, IJM brought us, so maybe let me use IJM. IJM will come in to support other part. In most cases, we forget the contribution government made.
Okay.
Right from the rescue, the uniform to the gun, to the security that cannot be quantified, to salaries, to everything, it's government. Okay. It's often something that we overlook as if government have done nothing. But in reality, that is government contribution to that specific activity. Shelters, if it comes to my shelter and they can testify, right from feeding to clothing to everything, will be done by government. So for example, maybe police will say, oh, okay, yes, we have fuel because they'll go, but looking at the journey, the distance, can we be supported with this? But maybe government don't make noise enough. That partnership is very important and we have to put that in perspective. However, it is our wish that we could have done it without IJM. So we could do it our way. So for instance, IJM may want to do certain things because, of course, they have other donors, they have people they are responsible for, they have their own, what we call organizational beliefs, strategies, and values or goals, compared to maybe how government would have want to go in terms of that. And then there are other instances, yes, maybe there is no release of budget. So technically, I'm running a zero and I need full support of a CSO to do something for me. Organizing a program like this, or even rescue or rehabilitation, that also happens. So what I wanted to say is, sometimes we present it as if government does nothing. I want to put it on record, government does something. But in most cases, yes, government officials are constrained. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. But I believe, Gloria, I'm coming to you. So we talk about the impact or what you have seen in communities regarding the shortage in funding and how that impacts the job at that level. But if I have a child and I'm taking care of my child, it's my responsibility. It is my responsibility. If I am fortunate enough to have someone come help me, it's help. So I will not expect that I will get accolade for taking care of my child. So that is actually my position. As much as I acknowledge public-private partnerships, they are very essential. Government cannot shoulder it all. When we talk about it, it's because we know the backstops with government. So, Gloria, what have you seen at the community level with, if there is funding cuts, how does that affect justice for children at that level?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, there's already a funding cut.
Okay.
And that is the reason why we are here. Just last year, we started having this whole conversation about funding cuts because, like my friend said, a certain president, quote and unquote, says, I will not, I will dismantle U.S. aid. That is why we're having this conversation. And that pronouncement alone led to over 54 to 70 billion in funding cuts. So there's already a funding cut globally. So it's a global conversation happening now. It's not just a Ghana problem or a Ghana challenge. It has happened. Now it is affecting communities. It's affecting NGOs, not just at the community level, even implementing NGOs like IJM. I'm sure if you give them the platform to talk about how funding cuts is affecting their operation, they have 1 million things to say. The same thing with us at SOS Children's Villages. Funding cuts is already affecting our work. If you look at funding cuts, you may look at it from the NGO perspective and also at the community level. From the NGO's perspective, you saw last year a lot of people were laid off. As at the middle of last year, we had about over 31,000 people laid off. That is when the report by just 5 international NGOs, 31 people were laid off. For me, it's not just about the laying off. It's about the people who were laid off have families to feed. They have children to look after. Some have parents and grandparents to also look after. A very good colleague of mine, I really experienced that. I don't want to talk about the mental stress he has to go through because the platform will not allow us to talk about the mental stress. That is at the INGO level. And we saw a lot of restructuring happening at the INGO and local NGOs as well. Now, the restructuring, definitely not in favor of employees. You see one person, work that one person would have to do. You see work that 3 or 4 people would have to do. Because of the restructuring, one person is doing it. I know one colleague in one of the INGO, he's a child protection officer, he's a safeguarding officer, he's an advocacy advisor, and he's also playing a communications role, one person. So you speak to country directors, there is no money to recruit, there is no money to do this. That is at the INGO level, and that is what we call the operational capacity effect of funding cuts. You also look at the programs aspect. A lot of CSOs, the work we do, sometimes we work in about 4 or 5 regions, 50 districts and rest. Because of the funding cuts, now we have to trim down the programs we are doing. But the real issue is, it's not about the fact that now NGOs are focusing on maybe 1 or 2 districts or 2 regions. The issue still remains that the fact that funding has been cut does not mean that children's needs has been cut. The needs are still there. Yes. And it doesn't mean that child protection or child abuses cases have stopped. What it actually means is that the perpetrators can now walk free. Like the submission the network, the guy from the network made. He met his perpetrator where? In the bus. He was really walking free. This is the real impact of funding cuts. You come to the communities. A lot of NGOs work with community child protection committees and system strengthening. And International Justice Mission does a lot of system strengthening. The same with SOS and other NGOs. Now, we all agree that structures like Community Child Protection Committee plays a very critical role in terms of identification of child abuse cases, referral, reporting, and documentation. So they actually prevent it from happening before it becomes a crisis. And here is a case, the money INGOs are using or NGOs are using to support these community structures has been cut. What happens? They become ineffective at the end of the day. Now you meet CCPCs in the community, we don't have money to work. We have to move from one location to the other. We don't have the resources to move. That is the real impact of funding cuts. Aside that, a lot of CSOs also work with government agencies, like the Department of Social Welfare and Community Development. I'm pretty sure if you ask all the CSOs present here, what is one of the challenges you face working with the department, they will tell you that anytime you approach, there is no money, there is no funds to work with. So it means that they rely on CSOs' interventions to be able to carry out their mandate. Abena talked about the rescue mission, the police does and all
quantifying the role of government.
Exactly. That is, we appreciate the fact that the government is doing a lot, but there are some instances, cases, you report to the police, they'll tell you there's no logistics. You have to pay for fuel, you have to pay for, these are real challenges of funding cuts, where if NGOs are not available or do not have the funds to be able to implement some of these things, at the end of the day, it is not the cut. The real cost of the cut is not the cut. It is the ripple effect of children who are supposed to have access to education, not having, who are supposed to be, when issues of child abuse are happening, the
protection.
The protection is not there. This is the real effect of funding cut. And then just last year, as soon as the US announced the funding cuts, UK followed, Germany followed, Netherlands followed, Belgium followed to say that they're going to also, reduce funding for humanitarian work. And what happens? What did you see what happened? Even Save the Children also had effect, 25% effect on their work. They closed down offices, they closed down, they trimmed down their activities, project activities, and they lay off some staff. So these are real effects of that.
Yes.
So that at the end of the day, it is not the cut, but it is the effect that it has. That is why UNFPA put it to say that the real effect of funding cut is that 1 million plus people are unable to have access to education. And this is what we are talking about.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gloria. So it is what you said about you can cut the funding, but the needs of the children have not been cut. In fact, it's becoming complex with time, and the abuses, the kind of protection they need is also becoming complex. So if you don't have it, you cannot do anything. Honorable, finally. Now, you've been reacting and shaking your head and nodding and writing, but I'll ask you this, and you tie all your reactions into that one. How do we move child protection funding from mere rhetorics and on the paper to real funding and protection?
Thank you so much. I must also acknowledge that I'm just a super substitute for this panel.
Yes. So we understand you.
Professor
Alidu was supposed to be here, yes.
Yes, but I think that the replacement is the best.
The disclaimer is well noticed.
Yes. So I listened to Abena, I listened to Gloria, Esther.
And Gloria.
I've been working with these distinguished personalities, and I know the passion they have for child protection and the issues around human rights. One thing I just want to emphasize is that funding for child protection has just been a rhetoric over the years. Real child protection is when child protection is treated as an essential public service, not just like a social program, all these social protection things we talk about. We go into our various districts and we realize that there is a lack of commitment from even traditional stakeholders. You go to district assemblies, we talk about insufficient funding and all that, but you go to district assemblies, and these district assemblies, they take IGF.
Yes.
Where do the IGF come from? It comes from our various homes. You go to communities, even when you bury a dead person, you pay monies. What do we use these monies for? We need to start looking at it from that standpoint. We have a lot we are taking and receiving from the district level, and that is where we need to spend the money. we talk about human rights, the right to life. The right to life for every child in Ghana goes beyond just mere survival. You have to talk about the basic needs of the child, the health care of the child, the protection of the child. You now have to go right to education. We talk about right to education, and we feel that it's something we need to beg the government, we need to beg people for. No, it is their bona fide. Every child is entitled to a right to education and a right to life. So this issue about child protection and the funding has become a very critical issue that we need to tackle it. We always want to say government has failed, but what is society, civil society doing about it? We don't do a lot of advocacy on this. We have only left it for the gender ministry people and a few of these CSOs to do. But then when we start holding government accountable, in their manifestos, what do they assign, allocate for child protection? When we start from that point, that, you know what, MP, government, if next year you don't do this, we are not voting for you again. And if we hold them to it, I'm sure government will set up, members of parliament will set up, our district chief executive will set up, and then we can say that we are doing enough when it comes to issues around child protection and providing enough funding for these things. We have been working with some CSOs, and I must commend the Right Honorable Speaker for establishing the Human Rights Committee, because before the committee came into, it had been merged with Constitutional, and they were so much engrossed.
So it was buried under all those ones.
Yes. But then the last 1 year, we have started some initiatives, and we believe that the push for government to increase funding and also allocate dedicated funding to child protection is something that my committee is committed to, and we'll continue to work with civil society, the gender ministry. Just over the weekend, we had a very interesting session with gender, foreign affairs, and I think the last one, AG's department, where we are trying to ratify some protocols that government has signed on to. And these protocols are very essential, and they all align to these things we are talking about. And I believe that in my next intervention, I will talk about some other critical things that we need to focus on.
Sure, I'll come back for that one. But Esther, if all the funding you are asking for is made available by the grace of God, since we all ascribe to that one, by the grace of God, if we get all the funding, what will be your topmost 3 areas you would want us to invest in to ensure child protection?
Okay, thank you. The grace of God will only be manifested when we make child protection a priority. I just wanted to reiterate that point. Okay, so personally and from where I sit, what will be my 3 topmost priority when resources are available? Let me just hinge on the assurances of the Honorable MP that when resources are available, my first 3 investments will be: 1, I've not talked about human resource. Yes, human resource is one of the greatest investments any country can. Looking at line agencies that deliver services in terms of child protection, support, and all, one of the greatest top 3 for me would be investing in human resource, particularly labor officers in terms of labor inspections, looking at the social welfare development officers to be able to execute their mandate as they should. I heard Gloria mentioning about how social welfare officers are unable to execute their mandate unless NGOs come to be. That is the sad reality. But the fact is that their capacities have been built. In terms of capacity building, that has been well done. But in terms of logistics and the human capacity to be able to deliver the services is one thing that is lacking. I sit from the Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment, and even labor inspect, the first point of identifying any child protection case is to be able to identify these cases. And labor officers are limited in this country. And I think that we should be able to invest in labor inspections to be able to identify these cases, not just the investment in the human capital, but also logistical support to these agencies to be able to execute their roles very well. Secondly, social support services. If the issues are identified if we are not able to deliver the needed social support services, it comes back to zero. Because a child in any child protection cases, a child in need of health services, a child in need of educational services, a child in need of so many services that is required. But until we are able to invest more in social support services, it comes back to zero. And so I would have so much money to do any work I need to coordinate in terms of child labor. Abna will get a lot of money if those monies are released to her. But if social support services are not enhanced and priorities given, because obviously poverty is an underlying factor where these issues are pushed. If social welfare officers are not well resourced, if community support services are not well resourced, if line agencies at the district as well as national and all subnational levels are not well resourced, we come back to zero. And then my last three support or tier investment will be into enforcement of our laws through law enforcement agencies. I say this because we are very good in policy development. We have the laws, we have the systems, we have the structures. Until we are able to build and strengthen the systems and structures, we'll still come back to zero. And so when the systems are built and the structures are strengthened, I believe that law enforcement agencies should be given the needed support to be able to enforce the laws we are talking about, so that we do not come back next year to come and talk about investments again. We do not come back next year to come. We should be intentional about the things we do. When we are intentional, I believe that these three top investments I'm talking about will go a long way for us as a country to be able to.
Thank you. So our conversation can be progressive if we are able to move from level 1 to level 2. But if we are unable to do it, we'll always come back and we go back to where the conversation started from. So for you, Abna, what will be your top 3? You mentioned some earlier. In fact, you started with the human resource first. So are there other areas from the in fact, you don't have shelters. You have 2.5 or you have 3. Me, I'm not even sure right now. So what are your top areas, looking at where you sit and what we can do if we have the money?
Esther can't put in, you know.
Okay.
But I think I was taking because I had made a list of things that, but I think I'll reiterate on the intentionality.
Okay.
Being intentional about child protection from all stakeholders, and we having the political will and the social will to protect children. Issues of child abuse, defilement, rape, trafficking, child labor, child exploitation, violence against women, extremism, irregular migration, all these things are linked. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Ministry of Gender and the Human Trafficking Secretariat have to deal with it. So since Esther made it broad in terms of support services, I will still come back to the protection, which includes that and the shelter. Okay. Yes, for trafficking, we are privileged to have some, but we don't even have the resources to be able to care for victims. And so you end up distributing victims sometimes. Law enforcement officers will go for rescue. And in less than 3 days, these victims have to go. So Andy, Stella, and Auntie Lizzie cannot prosecute because there is no victim to testify. And if there are no victims to testify, it means that the perpetrator will continuously walk free. So if we have the shelters, the protection services, all inclusive, where we have good shelters, we have the human resourcing, the specialized clinical psychologists, everything, so that social welfare officers don't need to, give you long talks. Sometimes when you call us and we are talking, it's not because we don't know what to do. We are talking because we don't know what to do with the victim. Where do I send the victim? How do I feed the victim? When you go for rescues often, they come with nothing. So from clothing to, in fact, even if you are in a bad mood, you have to force and smile. We call it welcoming the victim. That alone takes a lot of training. And after we are exhausted, who actually debrief or re-counsel or support the stakeholders working? Gloria made mention of those laid off and all that. Sometimes you get home and if you don't take care, you, the social worker, you rather abuse your own children out of exhaustion. And so, first, protection, the social services, so that our social workers will be relaxed enough to be able to do their work. I don't run shelters, I coordinate and make sure they are available for the social workers to do their bit. Clinical psychologists, everyone. Sometimes medical bills alone takes everything that we've allocated for ourselves. We've had a victim that was trafficked from Nigeria, 17-year-old. There were 3 forced into prostitution. Now, all these 3 girls got pregnant. The madam actually gave them medication to abort. 1, the pregnancy got aborted. The 2, the pregnancy was not able to come out. Fortunately, the police went in and rescued these 3 girls, brought them into the shelter. Now, the first one that the abortion was successful had complications. Second person the second one of them, the pregnancy couldn't come, but was anemic, so consistently was at the hospital. Then the third one actually delivered at the shelter, but
Shelter baby.
Yes, as if you know, Kofi shelter. But the level of cost, CS, I was heavily pregnant. The social worker was pregnant. We stayed all night. I came home with swollen feet, frustrated, exhausted, because this is somebody's child. Remember, once they are victims, there is no issue. But imagine a Nigerian person dying in a shelter. That becomes international relations. So it means Honorable Abraka will not rest. You have to come and defend. There was a whole delegation from Nigeria that sometimes will come and follow up on their victims. It's not just a victim. It goes beyond just the identity of the victim to international relations. So then my second point will be capacity building. My data shows that since 2022, 2023, 2001, when we did extensive capacity building for social workers, law enforcement, we were able to strengthen the anti-human trafficking units and everything. We had increased in prosecution. I'm really pleased to say that this year we had 154 convictions.
Oh, okay.
Which had never
happened.
154 convictions to all our stakeholders. And so our gender-based court and specialized units also within the Attorney General and the judiciary is really helping. They understand the speedy nature
because they have the capacity
exactly,
also
their
to
capacities
do it,
have been
yes.
built, resources have been provided to some, but it's still limited. So my second will be the capacity building. Then third, maybe it will come as a surprise, but we need to change our mentality.
Okay.
If I have the resource, continuous prevention, sensitization, awareness raising, community-based engagement, so that we can have survivor-led networks. The victims know the story to tell. Let them share their experiences. Yes. Let them tell how it is if you go to Kuwait, Qatar, Azerbaijan, Lebanon, and you are being exploited, sleeping with dogs, what it is for people to understand. Sometimes it's unfortunate because they've not seen victims. When you are raising awareness, somebody looked at us and said, "Es no yokra, and es no dabokra." Or no kwa, they will survive. Those who don't speak Tree, I don't know how I can translate this. We've had people call us witches. When you identify and realize that they are going to be trafficked, they will tell you, my first time that I'm going to sit in plane, you are telling me I'm going to be trafficked. Let me be trafficked. Even Joseph was trafficked. So our belief system, religion, we have pastors, and I'll continue saying this, traditional leaders, other people actually blessing passports, the tongues. If you have not traveled, it's as if you've not made it.
Yes.
So even rich people are selling their tipper trucks, shops, carpentry shops, just to travel and become slaves. Yes, make their money, go for excursion and come back. So if we do not change our belief system, our mentality, even those of us that are graduates, working in the civil service, last 2 years, 2 police officers were trafficked.
Hey.
Traditional leader was trafficked. Hey. Nurses were trafficked. I remember the Queen Mother said,
now we are all looking at who is sitting by us.
I am letting you know that all of us are vulnerable to be trafficked. We did the research, and now degree holders. In the past, we said people that have not been to school,
they are trafficked.
but degree holders too are being trafficked. The Volta Lake experience, most of the parents, if they know, if they understand, they may not engage in it. If the victims themselves understand what it is, they will speak up. If our members of parliament, everybody knows about it, you can easily support identification. We can easily. I mean, the saddest part is when a trafficker is a church leader and you don't know. So on Sunday, they will come and prophesy. I can share, people are migrating, people are trafficking. Then Monday, you meet the trafficker and say, come, you have potential to go abroad. That is it. So if they also understand, our religious leaders understand, and can even explain the Joseph story very well, people will change their mentality. And I think we can reduce this to about 50% if our belief system and our mentality is changed. And that will need a lot of community engagement, awareness-raising campaigns, and our social commitment.
See how the passion kicked in when she got there. And I think all of us are vulnerable when it comes to that. But Gloria, can you propose some funding models to help us bridge the gap? When there is funding cut, you have told us the impact on you and even those who benefit directly from it. At this point, is there any hope, apart from us proposing PPP, proposing the IGF, picking something from there, is there any other way we can work on this? Because we have realized that funding is critical to what we do. So how do we get there? How do we make up for this gap?
I think the how has been said already. I don't know, I think during the time Honorable was presenting or something, he talked about dedicated budget for child protection. That is one way we can go about it. And during the national dialogue we had in April, from 28th to 30th, where about 140 stakeholders came on board to talk about ways, roadmap to ensure child protection, and then came up with about 6 recommendations, which were IJM was part, World Vision was part, Plan International, SOS Children's Villages, GASO, SWAG, the media were all part of this. And of course, all the government agencies and institutions and all the stakeholders, including the DCs who are in terms of, who are decision makers at the district level and in terms of with the district common fund, they agreed that we should collectively have not less than 5% of the district assembly common fund allocated for child protection. Of course, subsequently there had been some contention as to whether we should have 5% or not. But the bottom line is some percentage of the district assembly common fund should be allocated for child protection. Now, again, you go to the districts and then engage, even with the district Department of Social Welfare. They will tell you if they make the request, they don't get it, to be able to even undertake monitoring, undertake any child protection issues that has been, even do follow-up. If they make the request, they don't get the money. So if an allocation, just like we have the Persons Living with Disability Fund, I think it's about 2% or so, or 5% or so. If we have something like that from the District Assembly Common Fund for child protection, it will go a very long way. Luckily, some of the districts we have engaged through one-on-one engagements have pledged to, advance the conversation at the national level. And of course, some are taking initiative, as some of the district chief executives are taking initiative to support the community structures, the CCPCs, with some amount of money quarterly. Of course, it's not enough. There is nothing that is ever enough when it comes to money, but at least it's a step in the right direction that, fine, the money has not been allocated all right. We are still having the discussion. It will involve parliament passing and a whole lot of things. But then taking initiative, even when it hasn't been, approved, is one way we can do that. They've started doing that at some communities. I wouldn't want to mention here. But then these are some of the ways. Let's have a dedicated budget at the national level for child protection. I think when we met Honorable Minister, some of this conversation came up, and we understand that the current Children's Act being reviewed, there is a dedicated budget for Children's Fund. And now we are having a conversation. It should be it shouldn't be a fund, but a dedicated budget for child protection at the national level and at the district level, the district level should come from the District Assembly Common Fund. These are some of the ways we can start with. These are some of the models we can use. Now, there is this current conversation, like we've all agreed, we've all said, that child protection is everyone's business. We need to, it should be a coordinated effort. It is not the work of CSOs or NGOs. It's not the work of governments. It's everybody's work. So it means that private sector is also responsible. Now, there is a current conversation as to whether corporate social responsibility should be regulated such that organizations that are interested in child protection, their CSOs can be targeted towards that. These are some of the ways we can explore as a country and as a nation to ensure that we have a funding for child protection.
Thank you so much, Gloria. So we can think through it, and knowing that it starts at the local level, when you are sure of what you are doing, it helps you to allocate the appropriate fund or resources to be able to deal with it. Honorable, you get to have the final say.
Thank you.
I saw you writing. You had a list. You wanted to share some interventions with me earlier, so you can share it now. When you were shaking your head like, no, 5% district, no.
I would try to...
Okay, summarize it.
Yes.
Or address every one of us.
So Abena made a very solid point, Esther as well, and Gloria. But then one thing I also want to say is that the district assemblies do not have the power to allocate funding at the district level.
Okay.
The only institution that has the power to do that is the local government ministry.
Okay.
So what happens is that as a parliament, we approve the formula for the district assembly common fund.
Okay.
And once the formula is approved, it behoves on the minister and the government to come up with guidelines as to how these funds should be disbursed at the local level.
Okay.
We need to start from a point. Government already has made provision for persons living with disabilities. There are some other allocations to other level. But then, how much is enough is another thing. We are talking about 5%. Already we have 5% for persons living with disability. But then, we have had so many systemic challenges around how even these funds are working at the district level. We have misapplication of funds. Okay. Funds go to the district for persons living with disability, and they end up using it for something else. So we need to be able to extend our oversight to this local district level. Once we are able to get there, if we are able to make a very good case, for me, I stand with IJM, I stand with all CSOs. After the national dialogue, all the participating agencies submitted their proposals to us as a committee. I think it was a 7-point proposal. And in there, they were proposing that some allocation be made from the District Assembly Common Fund. I think that the minister has been made aware. We are going to read a statement on the floor. We are going to use our instruments to draw the two agencies or ministries' attention to this. We know the gender ministry is passionate about it, but then they don't really have the powers when it comes to issues around District Assembly Common Fund. But then we'll support them. Last week, we asked the question on the floor on anti-witchcraft accusations. And it was the local government minister who committed that he would support gender in some of these issues. So what we will do as a committee and as a parliament will be to advocate that the government makes an allocation. We can start from a point, 1% of the entire allocation. We can start from that point. Then later we can advance 2%, 3%, because already government has its own priorities. Yes. I won't want to say government does not prioritize child protection. They prioritize child protection, but then we need to start from a point. We talked about IGF in my earlier submission where I said we have so much. Some assemblies are very fortunate. They have a lot of natural resource and several other things. They are able to take so much in IGF. But then the decision for the assembly to allocate IGF for all these things to, there has to be circulars from their sector minister. They cannot just go about doing things anyhow. So once the ministry agrees and prioritizes child protection, one other key point that we talked about as we advance these allocations had to do with the community child protection committees. We realized that not all these districts we have in the country have these committees. We went to BBN, we went to Ayesuano, and we saw how beneficial these committees are at the local level, because every parent knows that if I prevent my child from going to school, the committee members will come after me. So they are very, very, very proactive about issues around school dropping out and all that and taking them. And then there was one thing that I failed to mention in my earlier submission. I think that as a country, we need to really define what child labor is. People are talking about so many things. You go to communities, as a committee, we went there, and even community leaders, they feel that we are introducing a foreign culture on them. So once, as Ghanaians, we are able to come to terms with what actually constitutes child labor, then we can make some advances there. You go to communities, we have district, NCCE. We can, count on NCCE and the social welfare department. Today, I was confronted with a question from a social welfare person who is complaining of logistics to even run activities at the district level. They don't even have vehicles to move. When there are reports, how do they get to these areas? So we need to advance all these things. Then once we get there and the funds come, we know how well we are going to really disperse and be able to operate these funds. Because if we don't put these measures in place and there is funding,
you don't know
and the DC will decide when they have to allocate, when they have to do this. So we can start from a point, then we can get there. So I believe that, yes, we all need to come together on this. We have to be very intentional about it. Once we get intentional, within the next 2 years, we should be able to see some results. Okay. And I believe that as civil society groups and as a parliament and as
all
security agencies,
actually.
all stakeholders. Yes, and let me come back to this point. As a parliament, our responsibility is budget allocation, looking at budgets that are submitted by various ministries, the executive and all that. We as a parliament, we will commit to ensuring that there is adequate annual budgetary allocation for child protection. That is something I can commit as a committee. We'll
hold you accountable to that.
And once we are able to do that, Abna will not come and complain about logistics, because Abna needs to fight human trafficking, and Abna has no resources to do that. So once we are able to advocate that ministries that are responsible for child protection, it is not just gender. Local government has a role to play. Labor, they have a role to play. These ministries are all making allocations in their budget. We as a parliament cannot go and put figures in ministries' budgets. What the ministry needs to do is to prioritize. Know that this is a commitment we have made. Let's assign this budget. Once it goes to the Ministry of Finance, Defense, and other things, they can alert us as a parliament, because the budgets will eventually end up with us. So we need to start looking at it.
Do they need to lobby you?
They don't need to. What they need to do is that they need to allocate in their budgets. Once they allocate and their ministers and ministries are committed to it, the finance ministry will not just reject. They would submit and we would approve it for them.
Great.
So that is something that we also need to make them aware, so that they don't fail us going forward.
So a round of applause for my panelists. We've done great so far, and there's more they want to share, but you can't come here and not have a say. So we are getting to the plenary. You have contribution, question, intervention, the microphone. Do we have two? One here, one there. Ernest, is that it? Yes. So you can go to any of those. They are both working. Then we give you the opportunity to do that, and then if there is a need for us to address it, they will do that great one.
Madam Moderator,
okay.
I just want to recognize Hajia Zuera. She is the vice chair of the Gender Committee of Ghana's
Oh,
Parliament.
let's acknowledge Ajia.
She's a strong advocate when it
Ajia,
comes
we need to
child
hear your
protection.
voice first.
So Hajia, I know, has a lot to say when it comes to
So
this
Ajia
issue.
will go to the microphone. Ajia, please use this one. I want to hear you, please. So you can use this microphone. Then I'll come to you. I want to hear Hajia first because we'll come back to you. Yes, for your. Yes, please. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Chairman. He's the chairman of the Human Rights Committee. And although I'm not a member, he's received me as a friend of the committee. And we are doing a lot of work together looking at human rights issues. Let me first of all commend you for this brilliant engagement with stakeholders. It offers an opportunity for us to always, because the issues will never end, gain better understanding. I think I see Abna all the time. I even saw her on Saturday. But today she still brought new perspectives to the issues of discussion. And those are the things that enable us to formulate our thoughts properly, to enable us activate the structures and systems that are available to us in order to support and advance the advocacy on human trafficking and the support. I was just sitting and reading the roll-up banner. Even the strongest system cannot function without resources. It says it all. There's nothing else to add. We can put together all the beautiful laws, have them passed, but if we don't have resources to drive the activation of these laws, we'll still be standing at the same place. And so for me, it's such an important engagement today, and I've listened to all the other panel members, and I'm happy with what I'm hearing, that we are all looking at more avenues to enable the structures, the existing structures to function, and that is resources. My chairman has given indication at what we can do at the level of Parliament and what we need to put together to ensure that the system runs, that the system doesn't ground because there's no resources. I heard NCC, I heard social services, social welfare departments at the various districts, the 261 districts and assemblies, district assemblies and metropolitan and municipal assemblies that we have in this country. If you drill down to these institutions, they are really struggling. And for me, I've always asked, why do you put up a social welfare office when there's no money to run it? NCCs, they don't have a budget. No, if you go to my constituency, my assembly is East Gonja, and you see the NCC office, you wonder whether we understand exactly what we mean by putting together a national commission for civic education. It's non-existent, it's just a name. MPs, for some strange reason, have tended to be the ones shouldering the responsibilities of a lot of government agencies at the municipal and metropolitan levels. I know that the NCC folks in Salaga are looking up to me to renovate their office, to provide them a motorbike, to provide them computers. And you are asking, how is the MP able to do that? I know that the social welfare department in my municipality struggled 2 years ago when we had a child sodomy case. We literally had to go begging corporate Ghana to support the endeavor to get the 8 children who had been sodomized, tested, reports released, because they had zero finances. This is the reality on the ground. So we can only welcome what you are doing at IJM and to lend our support to it. And so whatever we can do at Parliament at the level of ensuring, I like the point about child trafficking is not a one ministry affair. It's not an issue for the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social. No, it cuts across the Interior Ministry. It cuts across Foreign Affairs, the Ages Department. And so we need to begin to look at how we can facilitate, speak to them, get them to understand, and maybe provide budget lines in their annual budgets brought to Parliament. And then once Parliament passes it, at least there's some resource sitting at the AG's office, so that if some child is sodomized or trafficked and we are rescuing them, the Attorney General cannot say that they don't have funds to prosecute the offenders. The Gender Ministry will not say that they don't have funds at the local level, at the assembly, to support the work of the Social Welfare Department. I also, off the cuff, I'm thinking about corporate Ghana. What strategies can we develop to engage corporate Ghana, to sponsor or give support to these funds, maybe at the assembly level? Because a lot of them are also riding on children and doing, we have the Unilevers, the Nestle, all the Cerelac is eaten by children. We need to find a way of getting back from their corporate social responsibility to the Gender Ministry, maybe to support the activities of protecting our children. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ajia. Thank you very much, very much. Thank you. Yes, Ernest is passing the mic for me. Please, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. And I thank you for the opportunity and in this treasure space.
Kindly reintroduce yourself for those who did not hear your earlier introduction.
I am Frank Asiedu Bekwin, the MP for Sum. Esther, Abina, Gloria, and my chairman hit the nail right on the head, especially as Abina, who touched on the family, the state, and the community. I think that as a country, we are failing on parenting. Simplicity. Because the child goes to school, spends only less than 8 hours in school, goes to church once a week, spends only 3 hours. Yet parents want the church and the school to train their children. You live in a community where when a child does anything wrong in the home, the parent tells the child, I'm going to report you to your teacher. You are telling the child straightforward that you are helpless. Look, the church cannot train our children. The school cannot train our children. It is we, the parents, who should assume parental responsibility. And if parents assume parental responsibility, all these things that affect children will be minimized. No NGO can save us. IJM came to Suhum, and I thank them for that opportunity. A pastor stood up and said that in this country, some parents value their fowls and cattle and goats than their children.
Hey.
Because when they are going to bed, they ensure that all these fowls are locked.
Yeah. Yes.
They lock them. But they will tell their children, oh, Akosia, oh, Babeda to Punumo. The parent is asleep, but the child will be outside there. So let us also, as social workers and parliament, start also looking at responsible parenting. And let's, as a country, invest in that.
Right.
I am also of the view that we have to also commit the district assemblies to start allocating some substantial percentage of their IGF for social welfare. We can't allow the assembly to be using the IGF for funerals and things that will not inure to the benefit of us as a country. So I think that, Chairman, the local government minister should be brought on board. Let's spend money from the IGF on child protection.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much. Thank you so much. So the money should be useful, not for donations at funerals or organizing funerals. It's not beneficial to us. Please, kindly introduce yourself and give us your submission.
Okay, thank you. My name is Nana Kwesi. I'm a journalist and I'm also work with an NGO, a policy think tank. But my question will go to the Honorable MP. Not necessarily a question, but a commitment from him. The suggestion has been that a percentage of the DACF goes to child trafficking. The suggestion was earlier about 5%. He is suggesting 1% for starters, which we can all agree to go with the 1% for starters. But he also agrees, he himself makes the point, that even for the percentage that goes to persons living with disability, it's often being mismanaged. But it is also the same percentage of the DACF that goes into MP's common fund. And the MPs are able to police that one so that it's not being mismanaged. So therefore, the commitment we need from him is that if you're going to even do the 1% he is suggesting, how are we going to take, as part of their oversight responsibility, going to police this percentage so that it's not being mismanaged as the disability fund that he himself mentioned? That is a commitment we would need from, because we see some committees often even invite assemblies to account for certain things. His committee, would they even consider inviting assemblies to account if this percentage eventually comes to fruition? Thank you.
I can't speak for him. He is here, so he will speak himself. Though I have my thoughts on what you said, he will speak for himself, and then we'll take the next one.
Thank you for the question. I think the issue of oversight is something that we need to be able to improve as members of parliament. Each assembly has a member of parliament. And one of the key things, now we are seeing it. I think for some time now, the local government minister has been very, very vocal about it, on how some of these funds are being used. Unfortunately for me, I sit on the Independent Constitutional Body Committee, which has oversight over the DACF and all the independent bodies. So what we are doing as a committee is ensuring that as the funds go to the assemblies, members of parliament are made aware of how much is going into their districts and constituencies, so that in their oversight, they are able to ensure. Sometimes it is sad, but it's a kind of system we find ourselves, where even the selection of these persons living with disabilities
is suspect. That one alone is suspect.
Yes. So we want members to become aware of these issues. So we have started something at the committee level where we have invited DACF and we are engaging them in the allocation and bringing transparency. Transparency in the sense that when these monies are disbursed to the assemblies, the people at the assembly become aware. You go to assembly, it's not just a DCE. It's made up of assembly members, government appointees. The member of parliament is even a member of the assembly as well. So this is where we need transparency to come in. So once assembly members are aware that this is how much we received as an assembly for PWDs, then we are able to follow up. On child protection, as he has indicated, once we get there, and the ministry is able to commit in its guidelines, as a committee on human rights, we are committed in our oversight responsibility to ensure that these funds go into what is expected to do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think his concern is you are able to police the MP's common fund. You are not able to police any other. But it's because of the transparency you are talking about. I think you are aware of how much is allocated, so you are able to keep an eye.
Let me just bring this to the attention. Beforehand, a lot of MPs were not even aware of how much was going to the assemblies. Because you see, we talk about DACF, and it's a percentage of government revenue. So it's not static. So when revenue changes, the allocation changes. So now people are becoming aware now, members are becoming aware, they get to see the monies going to the assemblies. And I can assure you, MPs are going to police all these statutory allocations.
That is
yes,
the only way.
That is something we can do.
Sure.
So we would make sure we advocate it in Parliament so members become responsible for their districts and constituencies.
So, Esther, I'll come to you briefly. She's been there for a while, so let her ask her question or submit, and then she goes to sit down, then I come to you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So my name is Rita Mpabe, and I work with the National Commission for Civic Education.
NCC.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm the Director of Communications and Corporate Affairs. First of all, I would like to thank IJM, because last year around this time, I participated in this conference, and apparently I submitted a suggestion which the institution took it up. And I'm very aware that during the opening remarks from one of the officials, NCC was acknowledged. As we speak, IJM trained over 60 civic educators from selected districts.
IJM deserves that.
Yes.
Yeah, is on the floor of the
So selected districts that have high rates of child protection issues. We signed an MOU, and currently we are waiting for ICE materials. So if I say ICE materials, information, communication, and educational materials, that will support the work of our civic educators at the districts. So please, let's appreciate IJM. But then I'm particularly happy that anytime we have conferences like this, NCC comes up. It tells us as a nation how important NCC is in our national development. But what we have failed as a nation is to prioritize civic education and public education in every aspect of our national life. I'm very happy that our Honorable Hajia, yes, Hajia, thank you very much. She spelled out everything, our reality. And we have civic educators here in this room who will confirm and endorse what Hajia said. We have over 1,700 civic educators across the country. There is no district that you will not find NCC office. Why are you not making use of us? Honorable, I'm happy to know that you are on the constitutional bodies, the committee. And you know, we
the
are
Committee on Human Rights.
Exactly. Constitutional bodies.
Not this one, a different one.
Independent constitutional.
Oh, okay,
Fantastic.
okay.
Yeah, we work with your people.
Yes.
So.
And he works closely with us because NCC is just like other independent governance institutions mandated to promote public education, to promote Ghana's democracy. So we just want to appeal to all of us, institutions from Ministry of Gender and all, we are there to work. All we need is for you to connect with us. Over the years, we've realized that when institutions submit their budget, they have a public education component. So when we as civic educators submit our budget, it tells you that, GRA has already submitted a budget on tax compliance. So if you go in with a proposal that you want a budget line for tax compliance or education, they tell you that you should go to GRA. You go to GRA, I'm just using GRA as an example. You go there and they have also created a public education unit. So what do we do? Maybe we should answer that question here. Because we as civic educators, we are ready to work. All we need is adequate resources. Yes. I'm choosing my words carefully. I said adequate. It doesn't mean that governments over the years have not given us money, but it's not enough. So all of us are policymakers here. Please, let's prioritize civic education. Our people at the district, very hardworking. And sometimes when we hear people complaining about NCC, they are not working and all that, come and read messages on civic platforms. We are ready to work and nobody is making use of us appropriately. Prioritize us and you'll see the difference.
Because some agencies have duplicated your role in their agencies. Anyway, let me come to Esther. Do you have a microphone? Sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to put better perspective on the district common fund. Yes, Honorable was right in saying that every district assembly gets 5% of the national revenue. Every assembly. Now back to the discussion about a percentage of that revenue for child protection. That conversation has started. Initially it was 3%. I'm now hearing 5%. But just as we want MPs to be accountable to that account if given to the districts, I think the first step before you even get that allocation is to develop a performance contract for all districts. The monies are given to district assemblies and they must be held accountable and not MPs. That is the first caveat I wanted to issue. And then before we even get that allocation for child protection, it goes through a process. There's a committee in place headed by the presidency. Before that approval is given, it's taken to the Common Fund Secretariat. When that approval is given, before that fund can stand. I'm only given the submission because it looks as if a lot of pressure has been given to MPs. I'm only reiterating the fact because the district assemblies must be, I'm sorry the head for the local government stepped out. But I think that local government and local governance in this country must be given a lot of attention and they must be held accountable. Because social welfare, in preparation of all their budgets and plans, it is taken through. I've had the opportunity to go with UNICEF, somebody from the Ministry of Finance, to district assemblies to see how budgets are prepared and how plans and resources are allocated. Even how the plan of Department of Social Welfare, before it's even featured in the district's planning, a lot of things are taken away. And so how do you tell me if resources are allocated, a district social welfare officer will be given money to perform his mandate? And honorable, even at the national level, I'm very happy to state on record, Abna is here. In the preparation of the medium-term development plans, our activities are budgeted for, not just the activity of individual institutions, but every child protection activity is implemented through a plan. The National Plan of Action for Child Labor, the National Plan of Action for Human Trafficking. These plans are well-articulated plans and budgeted for. And so in the National Plan of Action, NCC has an activity. Department of Social Welfare has an activity. IJM has an activity. UNICEF has an activity. It is the collective budgeting, but I'm very sad to say that in preparing these budgets, I sit as the coordinating unit for the implementation of the MPA. When you send these budgets to the various institutions to budget and send to you, only few government institutions give feedback to you. And so when the ministry submits the consolidated budget that we have from different institutions, it becomes very scanty. And then based on what the ministry thinks we can to implement it, that is what is submitted. And the sad reality again is that when we submit the budgets, not everything is released. Yes. And so this is just to reiterate the point that before, pardon?
So you should reiterate that point.
Yes, not everything is released. And so that is the point I want to make. Okay. So we have a broader plan as a country. One plan feeds into the other. When the district assemblies do not submit their plans to the National Development Planning Commission does national planning. If you sit here and we keep talking about the things we keep talking, planning must be articulated well and planned well as a country.
Yes.
Because if I plan from the national level and I do implementation of the national plan of action, and the district is budgeting about something different, and that is not featured in the medium-term plan, it doesn't feed into the national. And then we come back around the cycles, talk about how resources are not. Yes. Wow. And so in as much as the resources are limited, let's plan well such that these plans are budgeted for, even though government has not released all. That is why partners are there to support. But let's be intentional about planning and how we budget for it, so that when NDPC is doing the consolidated plans and budgets for every institution, it is featured as a national plan. Okay. And the government sees how, if I'm to lobby Honorable Ernest to say that the ministry submitted this amount and that he should ensure that the parliament releases it, and that money is given to me, it is only coming to me as a child labor unit, as a ministry. What goes to the district assembly has not been budgeted for. Okay. And so it becomes scanty, and then you see that you go to social welfare, they do not have resources to implement all the activities they intend. So please, let's also start from ourselves. Let's hold ourselves accountable as institutions, as district assemblies, before we come to the national level and be able to plan and hold MPs accountable as well.
Thank you. You cannot expect any allocation. Please pass it on to Gloria. You cannot expect any allocation if you do not submit anything at all. Okay, so Gloria, quick one, and then I come to Abna after the question.
I cannot agree with you more than this. Very recently, I'm talking about last week, we participated in the mid-year planning of one of the district assemblies. And we went there because we were interested in child protection issues. There was no single activity for child protection in the plan for the entire year.
Oh.
So it means that...
And what was the planning about again?
So we're reviewing what has been... So the plan for the year, we were reviewing what has been done to see how far and if there's anything to be added. And there was no single.
Not one.
I wouldn't want to mention the name of the district. I'm talking about just today is what? Tuesday.
Today is
just last
7th.
week. There was none. So we started engagement. Oh, the Department of Social Welfare, we brought it, and they didn't add it. And we brought it, and they didn't add it. So the point becomes, okay, so they brought it. You didn't add it. It means that at the end of the day, there was no budget at all. So if you're saying you're requesting for money for child protection activities, which is not even in the plan and subsequently not budgeted for, then what are we doing? So it's a bigger issue we need to look at. And aside that, I think we talked about the issue of persons living with disability fund. Now, in the same meeting, somebody raised their hand. The money allocated for persons living with disability has not been disbursed. What is it? It's sitting there. I wanted to cry.
Is this supposed to accrue interest?
That was the same thing I said.
Has
it been kept in treasury bill for 3 months? That was the same thing. That's on a lighter note. The money is sitting there. They asked the head of the Department of Social Welfare. It's accounts. Now we went further to ask the DCE. Gloria, I've been following up. Oh. He even went ahead to show, I have finance. So I think it's about time, like Esther said, we need to hold ourselves accountable. Because from the planning to budgeting to implementation, if child protection is not featured, then
there's no way you can allocate anything to it.
Anything can be allocated. And for us, we'll still come back next year for national justice conversation and have this conversation of financing child protection. Thank you.
We'll have some results. We must get results. I'll come to you shortly.
Yes,
please.
so before I hand over the microphone, we have our friends from the Ministry of Finance here, and I think we should acknowledge them. Later we may, if they wish to speak.
Ralph, let's acknowledge you.
So we have Madam Constance. Madam Constance Bar is here.
Oh, yeah, I'm starting from, they are here.
Madam Constance Bar is here. She's the head of Social Protection and Jobs Unit at the Ministry of Finance. Madam, please put your hands together for her. Yes, that's Madam.
Behind me.
There's
Thank
also
you so much.
Samuel Agre, who is the head of Road Transport and Infrastructure at the Ministry. Mr. Agre? Okay. Right. Thank you. There's Nanayao Yanka. Nanaya, okay, thank you. And then Raphael Ansu Chiabo, thank you very much. So our friends are here, just for us to know.
We'll come to them. Yes, please, let's listen to you.
Thank you very much. I'm a CSO, and most of our work is supported by my personal salary. I look again at the work we are doing, and I'm very disturbed at the poor coordination. This is CSOs coming to help the government when government says there are no resources. So this one come and partners as an individual or private affair. And then another CSO is also partnering with the same government, and it's in silos. So we are duplicating when we don't have resources. We are saying the resources are not there. But we have this meeting discuss the same thing, and have that meeting discuss the same thing. And each of the organizations are looking for venue, they are paying for feeding, they are paying for... How do we work on that and reduce the duplication? Thank you.
Thank you. And that is not a simple yes or no, but we know if you have shared interest, it makes a lot of sense for you to come together so that when you go, you present a stronger front than to have this, that when you are all working in child protection. But I'll leave it to the experts to speak on that.
When Abuna will come in, I beg to differ. That story could be sung about 5 years ago, but not now. Coordination now, IJM can attest all partners here seated. I don't know, maybe from a personal experience you're talking about,
Perhaps.
but before any CSO or NGO would work on any child protection issue in this country, you first must have been registered with MPO or Department of Social Welfare first. But before you implement any activity on child protection, be it human trafficking, child labor, or any other, the ministries and institutions must be notified. That is at the national level. Even at the district level where you are working, I'm happy to know that district child protection committees, it is sometimes some of the CSOs and NGOs, just as we are using one sword to cut government, I think it's another time we also use another double edge to cut CSOs as well. They go to district assemblies and work devoid of government structures. You go to a district, a social welfare officer is present because an NGO or CSO is implementing an activity at their own interest. They bypass government structure. The district assembly is not informed. They do whatever they want, even giving remediation packages and support. That is the role of Department of Social Welfare through SWIMS. Some CSOs bypass them and do not use them. But I can say for a fact that coordination at the national level and sub-national levels has been top-notch. That I can vouch because from where I sit and from where Abuna sits, we can say. The only problem is that some CSOs, better want of word, are very, very stubborn. Hey. They do not want to align to government priorities. And as a matter of fact, if government says we have an agenda, I think that every CSO worker must align to that agenda. Yes. But because they have other ulterior motives, hey. It is also, yes, I just have to be blunt. Wow. We just have to be very, in terms of coordination, and I'm very happy to tell you that as I speak at the moment, Ghana is declaring 3 of our zones as child labor free. It is happening now as I'm speaking. Child labor free. And it is a testament that
we've made some strides.
It is a coordinated effort of government together with CSOs and other NGOs who are not stubborn, who have worked together to actually avoid working in silos and ensure that the limited resources we have, we are making impact. Looking in the face of the challenges we have, U.S. government taking yes aids from us. This is not the way we should go as a country. And so if there's any CSO, on behalf of myself and my minister and all MPs here, on Abuna's behalf as well, we want to say that please, government structures and machinery is working. Sometimes I admit it is slow, but it's no fault of us. But we also want to reiterate the point that in as much as you are working in the country, ensure that the government systems and structures are being used so that your interventions become sustainable and we'll be able to monitor and follow up. Thank you.
You said Abna will top up with. Do we need top up for this one?
This one. She has been on fire already. I don't need to add more petrol. But it comes also back. Let me reverse what I'd wanted to say since reporting. In most cases, if I want to give you a practical example, I was just telling Gloria, you have a CSO report that we've maybe rescued or supported maybe 50 children. You go in and it is only 10. The 40 is not available. So the more you probe, they will bypass you and report you to your minister that you are becoming impediment in their way. We've had government officials posted because they were doing their job. Social welfare officers posted because they were insisting that they work hand in hand with some CSOs. I mean, for government, I was telling my colleagues at the table, we are like the technical team behind the players. When they lose, it's our fault, but when they win, the players did well. Let's all report. That gives us feedback. Some of the CSOs, in fact, they've done 100% work, following rules, regulations, standards, but they don't give us the feedback in reporting. So we will have a national report, and DS is not part. It doesn't reflect. I must say, perhaps, individual human relationship too is important. And so you have some officers, their approach, believe me, government officials as well, it is not good. So it does not allow the coordination, the two-way that we expect it to go. And then we have the third force, like I said, if I don't have the resources and you are disturbing me, quote unquote, I'll pretend I've not heard you. I'll pretend that the plans that you are talking about does not exist. The other side also is that sometimes you may think we are doing the same thing, but it is not. For example, we are doing a conference here. If we replicate the same thing through another institution at the local level, I don't think that is duplication of resources. And so for us, Esther said, anybody working on trafficking knows if you are not working within the national plan of action, following the standard operating procedures, definitely we will call you to order. And so for coordination, any government agency can coordinate. I don't need to go to that level. So for example, if it is about rescue, the police have the mandate. So the national level will coordinate through the region will coordinate through the district, everything. The final report will end with me, but I have not gone down to the structures. The same with AGs, the same with MPO. MPO will not go to the district, but the social welfare officer at the district level must know all NGOs working. It is sad to say that some CSOs, not wanting government to know what they are reporting, sometimes want to bypass social welfare and send reports, pretend they are the only ones working without the government officers. Yes, we may be poor, we may not have the resources, but you cannot take our mandate, our role, and our responsibility from us. Work with us, and we are willing to work with everybody. That is just the top up in a reduced fire.
Yes, in a reduced fire. But if I can say my summary. Okay. You see, the work that we are doing in this space is just like we are building a human being. All of us sitting here have scars, troubles, danger that we may not be able to speak about, or other people may not hear. So somebody trafficked is a story hidden. A child in labor is a story hidden. Children in domestic servitude is a story hidden. Children along the lake, communities, whether in whatever form of exploitation. The Kuwait story majority of us have heard. I can confidently tell you that people sleep with dogs as a form of punishment, abuse, to let you know that this skin called black is nothing. Discrimination exists, stereotypes exist. People are just trafficked just to be humiliated. Some deceived in so many ways. Migration and other stuff. But we all need to come together. The stigma that we often in communities attach to returned migrants that did not make it or trafficked victims must be reduced. And even though you are not speaking for the media, I think the media also need to understand the perspective of work. We've done a lot of education. But imagine somebody being raped and on TV, your face is shown. Sometimes in narrating the story, tukum. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have a very democratic environment. So media enter into the court space and they bring reports out, sometimes unknowingly to the victims. So they come
Some are very professional. Others will mention even the name of the judge, the name of the court, every detail. And the traffickers are rich. My boss from the Marine Police, you are here. I've seen police officers drowned in an attempt to rescue. Because some people want to say we reported and went ahead to the community and they know we were coming. They drowned officers. So that is actually how we gave birth to the Marine Police in terms of supporting in rescues and everything aside the Navy. And so we must come together. The resources may never be enough, but our efforts can be enough. Yes. I've seen officers feed victims from their own pocket. Mm-hmm. I have done that. It doesn't mean that we have enough. No, because we understood the work. So please, gender issues, the way we handle it. When we request even for capacity building, immediately they see the letter is from Ministry of Gender, they bring all women. But men must also be sensitized, trained to build their capacities. Immediately we talk about social workers, they will be pushing women. No, this is everybody's job. So let me put on my gender lens, that society must understand where we stand. It is not a women issue. So every time there is vulnerability, they only mention Ministry of Gender. No. But when it is a security issue, trafficking and child labor is a security issue. The children begging, all of us, we are seeing the challenges. Yet, in the name of religion, we are giving, thinking that these children are vulnerable. Somebody is behind collecting the money. If you stop the demand, the supply will not be there. If men, and this one, I'll be gender biased, stop patronizing prostitutes, trafficking for sexual exploitation will reduce. If we stop visiting pornographic sites, trafficking people for pornography will reduce. If the if goes on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please pass it on to Gloria. I'll come there. But I think all that fits into the mentality of how we think it should be and how we go about it. Yes. Ernest, your microphone is off. Okay, so as you fix it, Gloria, let me hear you.
I want to talk about the coordination bit.
Yes.
I think I appreciate the points Abena and Esther were coming from. But then again, with regards to case management, case reporting, documentation, and referral, I think I'm choosing my words carefully, some DSW, Departments of Social Welfare and Community, still need to do a lot of work. I'll give you an example. So recently there was an issue of a 12-year-old child who was allegedly defiled by her grandfather in one of the districts. This case was identified by the Community Child Protection Committee in the community. So quickly they reached out to SOS Children's Villages. And then I said, we've been training you guys on the referral pathways. But before then, they had reported to the Department of Social Welfare and Community Development. Of course, the officer in charge was somewhere. So he heard the case and told them to go and report to DOFSU. So he called to say that they needed money because the distance is far. They needed money to move from where they are to report the case. Then I called the man in charge, and I'm like, the case has been reported to you as the head of DSW, Community Development Attached. One would expect that you would subsequently refer the case to either DOFSU or any other agencies responsible for that. Madam Gloria, we don't have money. This is the coordination we are talking about, especially from CSO's perspective. So that workers, social workers, would need to be held accountable. And that is why the discussion on the passage of the social workers bill becomes more important than ever. Because some of these things are captured there. So we need to really, and I don't want to list some of the issues, especially working with departments of some departments of social welfare. And that may be That may be the reason why some CSOs would want to cut. Would want to cut. Because sometimes it's very, 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 for lack of better word, frustrating. So that even when you want to engage departments of social and community, the next thing you would hear, TNT. And I think in our national dialogue, this conversation came up, even at the national level. How much TNT is enough? That even when you want to, it is transportation. Of course, we all know that if you're inviting people to your house and all that, you need to give them water. But where that becomes
a demand.
A demand.
Without that, I won't go.
Yes,
Without that,
the question
I won't do.
The project money is even how much? And if we have to use it continuously for transportation, per diem, which sometimes is so huge. And sometimes if you don't give enough, next time if you invite them, they won't come.
This one, there is not TNT, it's plain fare. That is huge.
These are real issues. And maybe the reason why CSOs we want to.
We want to circumvent it. Okay, so let me go to Ernest and then.
So Martha, unfortunately, we have just 5 minutes to wrap up.
5 minutes.
I understand Honorable Enim wants to take leave of us.
Okay.
With your permission, maybe we might just let
Honorable, do you have any final words for us before you go?
We'll wrap up and then you go. Thank you so much.
You're so
kind. We'll take from Madam Vice President
of the GJA.
Of the GJA. We'll take from Bluetooth and MDF. And then we'll take one from the...
Are you sure it's your 5 minutes you are counting?
Yes, just 3. So 1, 2, and then we go to the survivors table. We take one, and then we're done.
Auntie Becky, you are first.
I think I'll be quick on this one.
Okay.
Because with the 5 minutes, I probably need about 10 to do mine. Anyway, thank you very much, IJM, Anita, and your team. This is phenomenal. Congratulations for this platform. Being in media and communications, I understand the importance of creating a dialogue like this. A lot has come out, especially from Abena, who I personally have interviewed as issues on human trafficking. And I love your the way you are very passionate about this. And I think that we'll go places where passion is involved. I would like for you to tell us about the question that was asked about what constitutes child labor. Because I know that issue has been defined.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can tell us, because there are some media people here who may go away and think we haven't defined that.
So we'll take all and then she will respond to that.
Also, I want to thank IJM. Post the last conference that we held here, a number of journalists have been trained and also incentivized through awards given to journalists to help them in their anti-human trafficking efforts. So I would like to thank IJM. And we also look forward to more. Oliver Twist asks for more. As Abna has mentioned, that we need to train our media people to be able to report and report well. I also want to conclude that I think we heard about police people being trafficked. If the police are being trafficked, then we are in trouble. I just spoke to him. There's a policeman here, just a joke, by the way, and he said, even Asofo have been trafficked. Anyway, that's just my joke. Thank you very much, IJM.
Thank you very much, Auntie Becky. So we go to the extreme end. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Lutuf Abdraman, and I work for MDF.
Please, we can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. My name is Lutuf Abdraman, and I work for MDF. We are helping IJM with some research work. Largely, I think we've had a lot of discussion, but I think the key issues are, a lot of it has to do with advocacy, but we also need to look at what we are measuring. How are we getting the child protection issues measured or reported on?
I'm very happy we have a panel like this. In your discussion, one of you mentioned the definition of child labor, and that was what struck me. Why do I say so? It's been on the board for a very long time. What's the difference between child labor and child work? As most people will say, it's part of socialization. All of us who work with the children and who work in this space understand that child work is where the work doesn't affect the child's education, the child's play, and health care. So, as far as it doesn't affect this tree in particular, it may be or could be child work. which is part of socialization. But once the child's education, child care, or child health and play is affected, it becomes labor and exploitative in a way, depending on what we are looking at. And to make this case, you need a certain caliber of officers and commitment of resources to do the assessment properly. And that is where we are lacking, especially at the level of implementation. That's the district assembly and the regions that coordinate and supervise the assembly's work. So when you leave the social welfare officer, I already spoke about a certain caliber of office. Social work, with all due respect, is not a vocation where you understudy practitioners and become a social worker. Social work is a profession. You need to go to school to learn social work. So you don't bring somebody to practice social work just because the person is of a particular gender and you feel the person could be nurturing without any orientation and training until we visit the issue of the people we employ and place and labeled as social workers. We will be having this issue. Then, beyond that, if we don't commit resources, like my sister from the INGO, International Non-Governmental Organizations, was saying, the social welfare officer, per their training, have certain specific skills to deliver the tasks they are asked to perform. But if you don't resource them properly, she did talk about the distance. Even in Accra here, where I work, some of the districts are miles apart. And then assessing certain communities within certain districts, you may have to cross a lake, even in Accra. During the voter spillage issue, some of my districts were affected. Then you realize that the resources that were provided, you were not supposed to feed from that. But in trying to help certain victims, kenke and fish is first before all the paperwork that we have been resourced to do. So I want all of us to look at this. Then the definition bit. Yes. I think it's been on the drawing board for too long. It's about understanding what constitutes a particular issue.
Thank you very much, Madam.
All right.
So we'll go to the survivors table.
Godwin will ask a question, and that will be the last question. But let me just announce that we have some QR codes coming to your table. We really need you to scan and give us feedback. So kindly do that. We're able to improve and get better every year because of your feedback. So kindly take a moment, spare a moment, scan the QR code, and give us feedback on this conference. So Godwin will ask, and then we wrap up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ennis.
We are the survivors table.
My name is Godwin Dogbe, a leading member of Ghana Survivor Network. I will say a very big thank you to IJM for making this event a successful one. And I'm very happy that I can see my colleagues, other survivors in this particular big room with big people, big dignitaries, the MPs, ministers. We ask for more to be part of the conversation if it comes to human trafficking or something to prevent human trafficking. My question has been touched a little bit by the lady from the NCCE and then the gentleman from the MDF. The question I have is, maybe I stand to be corrected, that's human trafficking prevention often receives less attention or funds than the rescue and rehabilitation. So my question now is, what are the plans to invest more in prevention than as we do, or more attention to as we do to rescue and also rehabilitation, because it's like we are all focusing on how we will protect the victim when
it happens.
Yes. Or how we'll get the resource to go and then rescue the victim from wherever the victim is. So right now, what measures are we putting in place to make sure that the victim will not be there?
Will not even get to where we need to do rescue. Thank you. That's the ideal situation. So will any of you want to answer him or give him some assurance? Yes.
Okay. Abuna would answer human trafficking because, by the way, women trafficking is one of the worst forms of child labor. So just to put it on record, you wanted to find out about the definition of child labor. So child labor, there's a child, there's labor. I know for everybody, not you. Mm-hmm.
Because
the latest definition of child labor is
yes, in Ghanaian context, there's been a lot of conversation
for
some time now.
We don't have any definition of child labor in Ghanaian context.
You know,
Ghana
Esther,
is part.
He started it. That's why he's smiling.
There
He
is.
asked that
Because
we should
we've been
come in.
following
Please
from
put off
the
your
media.
mic. Please, thank you. So he asked that we should redefine, look at it, so that we don't think it as something that is exported, brought to us.
So I'm saying that child labor is not a Ghanaian thing.
Okay.
It is a world thing. To put better perspective, Ghana belongs to an international community. Child labor has been defined in our national laws. The Labor Act mentions it. The Children's Act mentions it. It is clear. So what is child labor? A child is involved. A child is a person below the ages of 18. And there is labor.
Yes.
Before child labor must have occurred, work must have been occurred. That is the out. So it is not just the absence of a child not going to school. It is not just an absence of a child who is in need of health services. That makes it child labor. But when work must have been established, what is work? Work is the production of goods and services, either for your own consumption or for a third party's consumption. So if I am a child, and I'm engaged in any activity that is in the production of goods and services for my consumption or a third party, work must have been established. That is ILO's definition of work. So a child engaged in non-permissible work is child labor. But just that alone is not enough. The tools the child is working, the environment the child is working in, the age of the child, the timing the work is being done, all constitute factors attributing to child labor. And so we don't have any Ghanaian definition. It is just a point where people are refusing to say that, so why is it now that you are talking about child labor? Child labor is not a child. Mind you, a child can work. Our laws permit a child who is 13 to 14 years to engage in what we call light work and be paid. 15 years, you can be legally employed. And so when a child is legally employed, a child who is 15 years is working. That is not child. Except the child is engaged in non-permissible work. Except the child is doing work that is not permitted under law. Except the child is engaged in hazardous work. Working under higher heights and certain conditions. So this is one clear thing. Madam mentioned about child work, about child labor. There's a clear distinction. Child work, like she mentioned, is helping the child to socialize. And mind you, that work is under supervision. I'm happy she mentioned it. It is under supervision. But when a child is engaged in non-permissible work, it means that 1, the work is not permitted under law. 2, his age is not permissible. 3, that work is likely to harm the child's health, affect his school, and affect his general development. So that is the clear differentiation between child labor and child work. Thank you
very much. Would you give us your final words?
Yes,
then you can actually.
I might want to.
Thank you.
Because I haven't.
We understand.
Yes. All that I want to say is that Parliament stands ready to work with civil society and all the agencies that are responsible for child protection. And we'll do our very best to ensure that every Ghanaian child is protected. The next thing about the definition that Madam was trying to take us through, yes, this is the definition worldwide, and we don't live in a vacuum. but then we need to get this definition down to our people for them to understand what it means by child labor. That's all that I wanted to say.
And have
Thank
a better
you.
appreciation. I guess that's why you asked that question. So Abna, now I'll take yours. Thank you so much, Honorable Ernest Yao Enim.
Yes.
You have to take leave of us.
Honorable,
Thank you.
bye-bye. Thank you, Honorable. Yes. Oh, let's clap for Honorable, please. Yes. Okay, so I'll take Godwin's question.
Yes.
Godwin, you cannot leave any of the pillar for fighting trafficking out. We often use 4 Ps. Now they've taken out an additional P for it to stand out. So prevention, protection, prosecution, partnership. Now globally we are emerging the policy out of the prevention. So perhaps you are seeing the rehabilitation and the rescue because when you take 10 years, 20 years back, we were only doing prevention.
Okay.
But not more of rescues, not more of rehabilitation, not more of prosecution. But we've gotten to a point where now we are dealing with both the prevention, the protection, the prosecution, and then the partnership. I think all of us will bear witness that the partnership is flowing very well.
Yes.
Government, CSO, so no problem. When it comes to the loss, part of the prevention, we've done well. Community sensitization, and please don't belittle the work you are doing because you are also engaging in a lot of prevention, which is happening.
By telling your
and when I
story.
was talking, I spoke about the fact that you get a lot of even donor support in terms of the area of the prevention. But the protection part, which have from investigation, identification, the rescue, others add even research, the rehabilitation, and the reintegration. That is where it needs a lot of money. I was telling IGM that, see the way you are wearing suit, dressed nicely. If I rescue you and I'm not able to make you better from the situation that I rescued you, then there's no point. Yes. Now, I spoke of to even embark on one planned rescue. The law enforcement officers are here. Courtesy coordination, I'm able to speak for judges, lawyers, everyone. Planning, a trafficker is sleeping at a very high-level hotel, and you are monitoring that trafficker. You need the same money to be able to be at where the trafficker is, to be able to lay surveillance. Whether on the voter, like anywhere. Before we come and rescue, a lot of surveillance have gone through. So before we even come, we know how many victims, at least presumably, we are going to rescue. You will prepare for them. There are days you go and you've planned for only 4, and you end up with 30. In fact, when it comes to the adults, what we now call the Q model, we don't want to say certain things because we now understand certain areas. But cybercrime, you can prepare for 10, you come back with 300, 400. We need a lot of resources for that. So you hear us hammering on that. To put up shelter is expensive. And somebody asked, what are we doing?
New models. You said you should
exactly.
explore new ones.
There is no new model because we are doing all of them.
Okay.
What makes us not do it effectively is the resources. We have the foster system already. Yes. So the short-term shelter for the rehabilitation, the psychosocial support, feeding, clothing, medical assessment, everything. Now, when you're able to do family tracing and you're able to find a family and they are not involved with the trafficking, it's easy to reintegrate back to your family. If the child will go to school and the family don't have, you need to support that family so that they will be able to care for that child very well. But assuming the family is the one that trafficked the child, it means you cannot replace the child back to that family. So we have what we call the foster parent. It is there, trained officers already. It's not anything new. We have the fifth or the next friend where you can also leave that child. And even it goes further to even adoption. If there is no family at all traced, or sometimes you can trace the families and they are not willing to take back the child. It also happens. You need to give that child to foster care or adoption. All these systems for Ghana, like I said, our policies are perfect. Yes. But how to implement them. So you are hearing us hammer more on your care or care for victims because that is where now
That's
we
the
are
stage we find
lacking one.
in now.
The resources are very huge. As for the awareness raising, it's easy. Our media is ready to partner with us. You can go to the community, survivor-led advocacy, donor support, capacity building, laws. We are doing a lot around that area. But when it comes to the protection, that is where now we understand the magnitude of the work that is in that space. So hear us talk about it more. To set up a shelter itself is expensive. To care, feed, clothe, you can imagine how that also takes. So I think most of them, the others were contributions.
Yes.
And so I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And it's been a pleasure doing this with you. For anyone here who contributed, thank you. Your voice will go far in saving the next victim, so that we don't even have to come back and talk about that. And the funding bit, it is very essential. It is a bedrock. If we don't have that, we'll have all the beautiful policies. We'll not be able to achieve much with it. So I've been doing this with Madam Esther Furiajiman, very, very passionate, firing on all cylinders. Then Madam Abna Anobia Asari, the AAA. Right? And then my friend Gloria Emeka, Honorable, just took leave of us. And thank you so much for your audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And shall we put our hands together for Martha for moderating this very beautifully? Thank you so much for offering to do this. We are grateful. So we have just 2 things to do and we'll be out of here. Thank you for actively participating. Thank you for staying with us. So just a reminder, we have the QR codes on your table. Kindly scan, just take a moment and give us feedback. I'll invite the Director of Advocacy, IJM Ghana, to give us his closing remarks. And then after that, we'll do a presentation. So please do not be in a hurry to leave. You really want to see this. Please do not leave us yet. Let's welcome Bolanyo Foster as he comes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's good to see a lot of known faces and familiar faces. And thank you really for staying through, adding your voices, speaking passionately, and asking all the questions. That is why we came, so that we can find solutions and then how we can move forward with how we can protect our children. So thank you so much for staying. I just want to stand on the existing protocols. And my role really is to summarize the things we've been discussing and just propose a few steps going forward. So I've done this with someone and just summarizing all that we've done. So with the discussions that we've had this afternoon, we've summarized the things that we've talked about in 6 broad categories. So funding, logistics, private sector, capacity building, accountability, and then local resources. So in terms of funding, what we've been saying is that we need to reaffirm the call for mainstreaming child protection in national and local government budgets. So this has been a call that has been made in some instances already, but I think that we are all reaffirming the fact that we really need to mainstream child protection in local and then national level budgets. And when I say local level, we mean the district assembly level. Then sustain advocacy for review of the district assembly's common fund allocation formula to include a dedicated percentage for child protection. So as we learned this afternoon, we know that there's a formula for the district assembly's common fund, but then we also need a dedicated percentage for child protection. And because as we all know too well, there are so many things that can be prioritized over child protection. And once we're having these discussions, it means that we need to be advocating for the prioritization of child protection in our district assemblies. In terms of logistics, we've been saying that we need to address the inadequate funding for social welfare operations and child protection response services. I think that was quite clear in the discussions that we've been having. Also, more importantly, or very important, is also to monitor allocation and actual disbursement of funding. Like Abna said, we've had allocations of 2 million, but actually 1 million was disbursed. We've had allocations of 1 million, but how much actually has been disbursed? So it's something that we all collectively need to do. It's not just for government, but I think that we have media in the house. we have CSOs in the house. We all need to devise ways of helping to make this a very transparent process where we can actually be able to track. Allocation is not enough. Disbursement is the main thing. And what is it even used for after it's disbursed? Because you can have 1 million allocated for child protection and it may actually be disbursed. But is it disbursed for the purpose for which it has been disbursed? So those are things that we all need to collectively work towards. And private sector support. Speakers have already said that we can't do this by one institution. It's a collective effort. So how can we explore corporate social responsibility and other private sector funding models to help fill the child protection funding gap? So corporate organizations, how can they also become part of this? I think that one thing that we've not done here is that we've not brought in corporates this year. So that's one lesson that we can pick out. That next time when we are talking about things like this, we can have corporate organizations. Because a lot of the times we also feel that it's government. Yes, government carries a lot, but we all know that it's also something that all of us are supposed to help with. How can we encourage corporate social initiatives that support shelter, education, health, and psychosocial support and community sensitization? The fourth thing that we're discussing was about sustained capacity building. Abna talked about how capacity has been built and that has helped with the fight to end exploitative child labor, child trafficking and all that. But then we also need to continue to work to build capacities of all agencies, so NCC, SHRAJ, local district offices, because that really makes a world of a difference. Because we cannot tell that once we know what the problem is, we can be able to apply ourselves to solving the problem. So that is very key. How can we strengthen collaboration among CSOs working in the child protection sector? And as we heard earlier on, there have been so many interventions, but sometimes they are all not coordinated enough. We don't have interventions that are also aligned with the national plan of action or how the government is aiming to solve this problem. So we all need to come together to work towards that. And then provide continuous training and mentoring for frontline social workers, community volunteers, and child protection actors in the communities. And the fifth point that I would like to point out is how do we strengthen accountability structures? So one thing that came up was about using performance MOUs with district assemblies to hold municipal and district assemblies accountable for child protection commitments. And just 3 months ago, we had an engagement with the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. And one of the things that the Minister for Local Government clearly stated was that we need to focus on how we can use child protection as a metric in ranking the performance of municipal and district assemblies. And I think that that is something that we all need to be pushing for and advocating for. And I think that on our side from IJM, that's something I will be pushing for, because that will be key. Once you push for that metric, it will come with the funding naturally. It will come with the commitment naturally. How do we strengthen accountability from planning to budgeting and implementation through national and district medium-term plans? Like Esther said, there are medium-term development plans that we have, but how do we strengthen accountability and then also reporting so that whatever we are achieving is very clear to everyone? And then the last point is about mobilizing local resources. Partner with local and traditional authorities, faith-based organizations, community groups, and local businesses to be able to harness some of these resources. We all know that a lot of the secondary schools we have, for example, in Ghana, were started by the missionaries who came to Ghana. So a lot of our top schools were built by the church. How can we harness some of these resources to be able to help us when it comes to child protection issues? Some of our traditional authorities are very, very well-resourced. So how can we be able to help them to be able to use those resources for child protection issues and not just about other things? So I want to end here, and we'll be sharing this with all participants. so that you can drill down and then have a better understanding of this. But from what Anita shared during her welcome speech, one thing that we are committed to is that we want to ensure that this is not just a talk shop, but then we are following up with the things that we've discussed. And we are committed to doing that with your help. I would want to shift quickly to something that we want to do, which is also to demonstrate our commitment to supporting the work that we do as institutions. We all know that the work that we do involves a lot of sacrifices, a lot of hard work. And over the past couple of years, we've had government institutions, we've had our people leading the charge to help us with child protection. And one such organization I want to call out the Human Trafficking Secretariat. Abna, you are running away. Could you please join me for just 5 minutes? Please don't run away. Yes, please clap for her as she comes. Can I ask Anita to join me? So a few years back, on a New Year's Day, I wrote Abna a very lovely letter. And in the letter, why is Johan saying, And in the letter, I made a certain promise. You want to stand here? Oh, Abna, relaxed. I want a multitude of witnesses. So I wrote a lovely letter to Abna. And I think I didn't learn from my experiences as a husband from home. So when you make promises to a woman, make sure that you fulfill your promises. And so Abna has kept that letter till date as an evidence against me. I've not been able to fulfill that promise, but we are a quarter way through it. We are getting there. So we want to acknowledge the hard work of Abna and her team for leading us as a country, to where we are when it comes to child protection issues. Some years back, Ghana was on Tier 2 watch list when it comes to the TIP report. Now we've been consistently been on Tier 2. I personally believe that we are knocking hard on the doors of Tier 1. And I think that is just a matter of time. But then Abna and the team have been very, very hardworking. They've driven, even though we've had resource constraints in the space, like we are all saying, Abna has been able to mobilize a lot of resources to move forward. So we have a citation and a small gift that I want to give to the office. I'll read it out, and then my boss will do the presentation. So Abna and the Human Trafficking Secretariat, including you, in recognition of your unwavering commitment, dedicated service, and outstanding contributions to the fight against human trafficking in Ghana, through your collaborative approach, institutional innovation, and steadfast pursuit of excellence, the Human Trafficking Secretariat has played a pivotal role in strengthening national efforts to combat human trafficking and protect vulnerable populations. Your commitment to fostering effective partnerships among government agencies, civil society organizations, development partners, and other stakeholders has enhanced coordination, accountability, and impact across the anti-trafficking sector. The Secretariat's leadership in advancing the National Human Trafficking Agenda and supporting the implementation of the National Plan of Action has contributed significantly to increase awareness, improve stakeholder engagement, and meaningful progress in the prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership pillars of the anti-trafficking response. With sincere appreciation and admiration, we at International Justice Mission Ghana celebrate the remarkable contributions of the Human Trafficking Secretariat and commend your enduring commitment to advancing justice, protecting vulnerable persons, and working towards a future free from human trafficking. Your efforts continue to create lasting impact and inspire collective action in the pursuit of freedom, dignity, and protection for all. So this is a citation from IJM Ghana, and I'll kindly ask Anita to do the presentation to Abna. To also support the work of the Human Trafficking Secretariat, we are also donating We're also donating, thank you very much. We're also donating a desktop. Anita, to hold it. Hey, no, just touch it. Just touch it, please. So, wow, okay. Underestimated your strengths, both of you. Well, yeah, sure. So we're also donating a desktop computer to support the work that they do, just to say thank you for the hard work, and just a form of encouragement. We've been talking about resource mobilization. This is one step of resource mobilization. So we encourage others to also support. Abner, thank you very much, and thank you for the hard work. Thank you. We have a second presentation to do. This organization or this government institution has been very pivotal in the fight against human trafficking. Their work really has been phenomenal. And this is just to say thank you to them and to encourage them for the work that they do. Can I kindly ask Mr. Sempoa and Mr. Doji Adugu to join us upstage? I think Mr. Sempoa just got up. I want to present a citation to the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, the Volta NOT region, for the tremendous work that they've done. This is not to say that we've all know that tremendous work, but this is just a way of just encouraging the work that they've done. So in recognition of your outstanding service, unwavering commitment, and invaluable contribution to the fight against human trafficking in Ghana, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has consistently demonstrated exceptional professionalism, integrity, and dedication to the pursuit of justice, playing a critical role in strengthening Ghana's response to human trafficking. Through your leadership in the prosecution of trafficking cases and your commitment to upholding the rule of law, you have significantly advanced efforts to ensure accountability for offenders and protection for victims and survivors. Your dedication to advancing justice through professional training, public education initiatives, and the fostering of strong multi-stakeholder partnerships has significantly strengthened the criminal justice system and contributed to a more effective and coordinated response to human trafficking and other forms of exploitation. As a trusted and valued partner of IJM Ghana, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice has consistently demonstrated a spirit of collaboration and a shared commitment to advancing justice. Today, we at IJM Ghana celebrate the remarkable achievement of the office and commend your enduring commitment to human dignity and the protection of the vulnerable. Mr. Sempoa, please can you join us? Your hard work continues to shape a stronger, more responsive justice system and inspire collective action toward a Ghana free from human trafficking. So we want to celebrate the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, Volta and OT regions, for their hard work, their dedication towards the work of human trafficking. And this is Mr. Sempoa, who leads the office, supported by Mr. Andrews Doji Adugu, who is the focal person, okay, for human trafficking. And we also have a desktop computer that we want to hand over to them to support the work that they do to protect the most vulnerable in our communities. We just want to say thank you, and we hope that this is a form of encouragement and to support the hard work that you are all doing. Can we give it up for them one more time, please? Thank you all very much.
So shall we please rise as we take the closing prayer? I'll invite Pastor Francis Deku, our dear pastor who has been supporting the work of the GSN in Keta, paying for free airtime and supporting them with transportation throughout the community. He would pray over us to close the conference.
Shall we close our eyes as we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much for how far you have brought us. Our Lord and Master Jesus, when you came to this world, your mission is to liberate, to set the captives free. And that is the reason why we have gathered. We want to thank you so much for all that we have learned, all the impartation, and all that we have acquired this afternoon. We pray, oh Lord, that you help us get resources to save more souls in the name of Jesus. Father, as we are about to live, we are not living in your presence We pray, oh God, that the grace that brought us here safely, the same grace will send us back home safely in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, we pray that you continue to protect us, provide for us, and preserve us in all our doing. In the mighty name, we commit the resource persons who have wasted their time, spent their times on us. We pray that you continue to protect them as you did to Job. In the name of Jesus. May your name be glorified as we pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Thank you all very much and have a wonderful afternoon.
Can you hear my voice through the silence? Won't you lend a helping hand? See through my smile that I am hurting. Won't you lend a helping hand? Oh my, from the mountaintop let freedom ring out. Low, let justice prevail. We say in the Lord have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Oh my Lord, have mercy upon us. Hear my children saying, Lord, have mercy. Have mercy, Lord. Oh my Lord, have mercy upon us. Mercy, Lord. Lay down, my brother, suffering children around us. Can't you see? Can't you see? Can't you see? Pray for someone to take them home. Oh, yeah. Will you be the feet and hands of Jesus? Oh, my. To reach out and rescue these lonely souls. All right. From the mountaintop, let freedom reign. To the valleys low, let justice. Mercy, Lord, thy kingdom come and thy will be done. Oh, in our words, hear my children crying out. Hear the little children helping hand. Hear the little children crying. Hear the cry of your people. Mercy, Lord.